Well, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Hello. Welcome back. I think we got some people coming in. We do. We got LinkedIn. Who else we got going on here? YouTube's on. Well, that's good. That's good that everybody's in and we know that it's working. And we already got some comments. Hey, Miss AB. I listened to your voicemail, by the way, and so heartfelt. Thank you so much for that feedback. We so appreciate it. And we love that you're just giving us like that raw feedback. Like, this is where I am. This is where it's making sense. This is where it's not making sense. Like, help me out. That is exactly what we're here to do. But we're actually here to do more. And I think that what we've been working through this past week and what we have for you today is just really alongside of our goals, which is to help you build retirement income, help you have financial security for the rest of your life. This stuff has to make sense in order for you to be able to understand how to apply these strategies to your particular situation, because everybody's situation is different. I think that the part that Donnell and I, we were kind of like beefing at 8 o'clock this morning. We can just tell them. I wanted to do the strategy this way and he wanted to do it this way. And that's kind of the point. Is I was so excited to be able to show you what I saw as a great opportunity. And his is a great opportunity too. It's just that there's a million different ways to structure this. And that's the beautiful part about that. When you understand what it is you have, the options that you have, and then how to use them, you can do anything you want, right?
I mean, there's they don't call it infinite banking for a reason, right? And
Right.
I get it. We talk mostly about velocity banking, but the truth is infinite banking is the next level, next transformation of. And so they don't call it infinite reason for, I mean, golly, there's so many different ways to go about this, so many different ways to approach a problem. And the key is it's looking outside the box. Sometimes we have to take a non-traditional approach to be able to solve a problem. And my goal for this channel is just to kind of highlight what some of those non-traditional approaches are. And the cool part about all of that is I don't know them all. Like, there are so many other ways to kind of look at these issues that we have with retirement, with being able to leverage assets, with being able to build wealth and control your time and create true freedom. There are so many different ways to look at things. And then what I hope is this community that is growing, we can identify opportunities where we can also engage others in some of their solutions on how to solve some of these problems.
Absolutely. And we need and we need you guys to tell us what your situations are so that we can start to walk through. What I really appreciated about last time, and I hope that this happens this time too. I hope that you guys kind of play along with us and try to say, okay, well, if this is the pieces to the strategy, then how do you think that it could have been structured? I think
Right.
that's super powerful for you to use it almost like an exercise, like classes in session, let's get into it. And I think being able, like a muscle, being able to use it, over and over again and kind of work that muscle out is just going to make it stronger when it comes to the opportunities that you will be faced with or be served
Right.
in the
And,
future.
one of the things that I've been seeing different things in the comments around, specifics. And here, the other piece of my goal about this process is about the strategy. Meaning, if you can understand the strategy, if you can understand the
Plan.
strategy
Yeah.
and you fully get the concept of what it is we're trying to do, those there's minor details that don't really matter. Meaning, I am comfortable with paying more interest than I would normally pay in a mortgage if that means it translates to a six-figure lifetime of income. Like I will gladly pay 20 cents to make a dollar.
Yeah.
And in some cases, people get stuck in this traditional thinking, like, why would I do this to this home? Why would I uproot a 2 point whatever percent interest rate for 8 point whatever percent interest rate? You would do that so that you can build wealth.
Yes.
Because the home that you're currently in is your largest asset. If we learn how to better utilize this asset to build wealth, wouldn't we be able to hit our goals a lot faster? Like imagine being a new homeowner and understanding these tools, and now your home is just another vehicle that is being used to help you retire early. Like how awesome is that? But that is not how the American dream traditionally works. We get that college degree, we get in debt. We get this job, we get married, we have this kid, we buy this house, and we are trying to figure out how to get out of debt. And then we're realizing that all of these vehicles that we put our money in for retirement aren't really going to get us to our goal. And so now we're scrambling at 38, 42, 47, 53 on trying to figure out what do I need to do differently to be able to hit this goal. Man, if we could have started 25 with, hey, here are some different tools that alongside of your company's 401k, alongside of these traditional things, if you put these in place, you get to put yourself in a position to where at 42, 45, 47, you have choices that we just have never even thought about having. And that's what this is about.
Well, they're conversations that we've never thought about having. And they're
Right.
conversations that are really uncomfortable to have with people. Here's an example. The example that we've been going over for the last 2 days is about a woman who has her plan and her idea, and of course her variables and as a part of her equation, right? But the conversations that happen, whether it's with your sons, with your daughters, whether you were a son or you were a daughter, right? And the conversations that did or didn't happen with you, these conversations are really the catalyst, or the lack of them are really the catalyst to the expectations that we have going out there. If what are we prioritizing? And sometimes it's as parents that we're checking boxes that these people are moving forward based off of whatever criteria society has set for us. But it's unfortunate because as an example, most young women, now we have Pinterest, but back then we didn't have Pinterest. We just had like ideas and magazines, right? And it was the wedding day, right? What would that look like? And some people spend more than a down payment on their home on their wedding and for one day, right? And this is supposed to be super important, but they'll end up having to crawl out sometimes out of that debt, or
Right.
they're putting their
Right.
parents in this debt because there has been such this significant amount of weight placed on this day. If the conversations would start to change, because we're not in a place. I get there's some people are okay to do this. Some people are okay to do it and it's stretching them or it's not putting them in a position today. But realizing when you see what happens today, I just want you to think in your mind, what would have happened along the way if even $20,000 would have had to have been removed from this process to pay for a wedding?
Right.
Because that's about the time that she is, right? Like if her kids were getting married or whatnot, and she was going to help with that. Or some of the people who are in debt probably might be in debt because of an event like this, right? So this is, I think, part. What am I saying? Boop. Okay, we're gonna start over. Okay, part of the process of becoming self-directed is about your mindset and how you're thinking about things
Man.
too.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
really that's the community piece, is like joining in with other people who can have those conversations with you, because often we cannot have those conversations with people that we already know. If we were having those conversations already, we'd be in a different place,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So tonight, we are going to show you how this same example that we showed you last time, how she now, instead of just just getting debt free in 6 years, how she can leverage her HELOC to produce over $100,000 in passive income for the rest of her life in that same amount of time, pretty much. With the same amount of tools, we are changing nothing about this equation other than how you use it and how you leverage it.
Right.
So I hope you all stay tuned because it's this is going to blow your mind. And I put some little snacks in there. Also, we did not agree on this strategy, so I'm hoping this doesn't go too long because what I'm hoping is you guys will see what these opportunities are inside of his strategy, even because there's some things that I think he might have missed. I personally think there's some opportunity and there's some room that he could have used. We are also trying to put these examples together quickly, right? This is about strategy, so it's not about what is the absolute. We've gone through 100 different strategies, and this is the one. This is we're trying to teach the strategy, so that's why this is important. And I do want to give you the credit to that because I don't want to say that you're wrong. You're not wrong. There's an infinite amount of ways to do this. It's just that we both saw something different in and how she could approach this, and they're both very valid things, and they both had very similar outcomes, right?
No doubt. And here's the thing. So I think because we are growing and growing as fast as we are, there are people going back and watching our older videos. And I ran across a comment, and I try to answer. Most of you guys probably know I try to answer comments as they come in, even if it's between calls and stuff like that. I'm pretty active. And there was a comment related to the first velocity banking video that we did, and it was related to putting all of your income on the debt tool, and then you pay bills from the debt. And it was a very important, I think it was a very on point comment that was made, and it was around this. When you put all of your income on a debt tool, that minimum payment on that credit card or whatever it is, that minimum payment has to come out of that total amount, which means if you're putting $1,000 on and the minimum payment is 200, it's actually 800 that's working for you, not 1,000. And I think that's a great point. And my comment was, I think you're right. I think it was like a gotcha moment, like ha ha. And my response was, I think you're right. But my question to the person was, but does the strategy work? Like I get it.
Right.
There and because so we may run through this and there may be opportunities to fine tune a number. Perfect.
Yeah.
But does the strategy work? And if the strategy works and it takes you 11 months instead of 10 or 15 months instead of 13, did the strategy work?
Yeah.
Because if the strategy worked and you got your money compounding, guess what? You're building tax-free income. And now you have a vehicle that you get to tell your job, you know what? I don't think I'm going to work past 50. I'm out. So if the strategy is working and it's doing its job and it's producing the income, like I get it. Maybe I wrote a 2 and I should have written a 5 and that number might be off. So I apologize. But does the strategy work? Is the structure proper? And is there anything that I'm missing around the strategy and the structure? Because that's the part that could send people down a path that might get themselves hurt. And so
Right.
please give me the feedback, but I want to make sure if is the strategy am I making sense? So that's the feedback I'm looking for this group. I would love to know if this is making sense, because if it's not making sense, then I need to go back to the drawing board, because this is the way I understand it. What I'm
Yeah.
sharing with you is what we do. Just want to make sure this is clear. This is not an example that I found somewhere and I want to see if it works. No, this is how we are playing for our MPI plan. Let's just put it out there. What I'm about to walk you through is what we're using, is the strategy that we're using to build our WTF moment. And there's nothing but facts about that.
Well, other than it's not, because that's what we were arguing about this morning. And I was like, why don't you just do it the way we did it? And you were like, oh, I'm doing it the way she wants to do it. And I'm like, well, then do it the way we do it.
But hold on. That's my job. My job is to listen. And when you tell me this is what I want, it's not my job to tell you no, you don't. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get you hurt. I'm a fiduciary. My job is to make sure I put my best foot forward and I'm taking care of you and your responsibilities. Get it? But when she says, I want to pay off these homes in this period of time so I can go do, here, let me show you what that looks like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then I'm
That's,
going to show you what I think.
yeah.
And then we can compare and contrast.
Okay, well, let's show them what you think, Donnell.
Let's do it.
All right, well, let's see. We're going to go to to the vibe board, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Sounds good. Get that up. Oh, and hello everyone. By the way, we got quite a few people and commenting in here and commenting and talking to each other, and we have some questions already. So I think that that would be good. I want to address a couple of them if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Yes, that's what I'm going to say. Does it make sense to address a few right now before we jump in? Because I'm probably going to fire hose this thing
Yeah.
when I jump in.
Yeah, let's address this one because you said you would never wear matching stuff with me. Boop, here we are.
So I'm from St. Louis,
Recorded.
and I used to go to Six Flags a lot. And when I would go to Six Flags and I would see couples dressed alike, I thought it was the grossest thing I'd ever seen. And yes, you are
It's
absolutely
not.
correct. I am not a fan of wearing the same shirt or wearing the same outfit. That is just it is not a thing.
It says we belong together.
Well, of course we belong together.
Yeah, but
We don't need a matching shirt to know that we
when
belong
you're
together.
out and about,
Matter
people
of
are
fact,
like, "What? Oh, she's with him, he's with her." Okay,
you
got
can
it.
tell on how the play back and forth goes. We don't. It doesn't have to take an outfit for people to understand that this goes
Yeah, that's true.
right.
Oh, sweet. Look at Donnell being so sweet, guys. Okay, so we have another question that was like, okay, Gelato, I'll get to your question because I think that this example is definitely gonna apply to you about your debt and your home buying goal.
Oh
And then
yes.
Veronica, stay in here because we're gonna show you exactly how to use a HELOC. And Sue Ann, she left the sweetest comment, and I really appreciated it. Sue Ann, yes, your daughter's moving out and heading to college. Can she start out this way? Sue Ann, she better after you watch this live stream, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she better be armed and ready to go. So, okay, we've got lots of comments in here, and I want to be able to read them all. But I'm going to go ahead and jump in the chat with you guys over here on YouTube, and we'll chat over there while Donnell's getting started. Cool.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. A fun thing did not happen.
I like the boys to men personally. All
Yeah.
right. So again, this is picking up where we left off the other day, and we've got a client who her objective was, hey, I'm 53 years old. My time horizon is 15 years. So by age 68, I want to be with my grandkids. These two homes that I have, this rental that's bringing me a decent passive income. I've got a decent job and I've got a home that has some equity in it as well. The objective is to pay off both homes, use that cash flow to then build a better retirement plan. Obviously, go after a WTF moment, which definitely involves legacy and her kids, and I was legacy with her grandkids, and also leaving a legacy as well. And so when we talked last, we talked very much about what her goal was, and I wanted to approach this from the perspective of doing things her way. And as as I normally do when I'm meeting with clients, there's usually a goal behind the goal. So it's really peeling back the layers and fully understanding what is the focus, what is the point, why are we here? And what you end up learning, or at least what I ended up learning with her, was this was really more about putting things in place so that when her time horizon hit, when that clock struck 12 on her 68th birthday or whatever that time frame was, she was in a position to be debt free and free to go be with her grandkids and just enjoy them. And to me, if that's the case, then we've got 15 years to kind of build a machine such that by the time she hit 68, my thought process was that machine should be well oiled and functioning in top condition by the time she hits that point. Because why? It's all about that WTF moment. And so and sweetheart, you might have to come back in here a little bit because I want to make sure I cover this well. One of the things that you mentioned was, okay, and I'll make this a little bit bigger as we need to. Her dollar amount today, the month she makes $120,000 a year in 2023. That
Right.
$120,000 in 2023 looks different than $120,000 in 2023.
Oh, thought you're frozen. Thought we are gonna have to hit the bingo card. So you're good
In
now.
2003, that $120,000 also went further. And and whether we work backwards or work forward. So the thought process is, being conscious of it when we're talking about traditional retirement planning, and we're talking about even stepping outside of the box. We
Mm-hmm.
also want to be conscious of what a dollar looks like and what that math looks like around inflation and what it's worth. So if you're thinking, hey, I just at least want to be able to make the money that I'm making today in the future,
That's it.
does that what does that honestly mean, and is that a possibility? Meaning, what does your lifestyle have to look like to be able to achieve that point, right? And so you want to kind of highlight what we're talking about here.
Yeah, well, first of all, I put you in that golden circle because it's a time travel, okay? We're all taking a road trip to 1983 for those who retired then, right? Or for those who were planning to retire back in 1983, and then what they were putting in their 401k, what they were investing, and assuming that they would need was most certainly not $100,000 a year. Can we
Right.
all agree on that?
Right.
39 if $39,000 a year was the equivalent of 100K today, they were not in their wildest dreams thinking that they would need $100,000 to keep up that lifestyle. And so imagine if they were working in 1983, and in 2003 is when they were thinking of retiring, they were already behind the ball. Imagine now where they are in 2023. Now they're in their older years. This is like past golden years at this point, I guess you could say, right? But this is where they would healthcare costs have gone up, but everything that they budgeted for was from 1980s, right? This is the whole point. We right now are in the 1980s of the 19 or the 2060s, right? That's where we are right now.
No, you're
That's
right.
just,
Spot on.
yeah. So imagine right now, think of where we are as the 1980s, and then ask yourself, am I planning for the future? Am I planning to be financially protected? And there's a lot of people who will have this conversation, and they will say things about inflation. They will say things about how much you need to have in your retirement account. I don't even think any of that information matters. I do think that inflation matters because you need to understand that if you think right now putting in 20 cents and getting out a dollar is a problem, that you'll just start doing it later. Imagine later when you put in a dollar and it's only worth 20 cents.
Right. Right. And so what do you do? So what do you do in a situation like this? And it's very difficult to simulate in examples like these, especially when we're using calculators and things like that. But I think my simple rule of thumb as it relates to how do you combat inflation and make sure that the dollar amount today looks like it's inflation, I'll call it resistant in the
Hmm.
future,
Yep.
is you take a look at what is your percent of savings today. Let's say you're doing 80/20. 80% is going to bills and stuff, and 20% you're saving. Well, if you learn to just maintain that distance, that 80/20, that 80/20 rule, meaning as you're making more money, as you improve in your role and your position, and you're making more money with your job, you maintain that 80/20 difference. If you're able to do that, then what happens is more money gets compounding for you faster, because maybe you make $100,000 and 20 grand of it today is what you're putting away. But when you're making $200,000 10 years from now, that 80% of $200,000 looks different. And so there's more compounding for you. And so it's compensating for what inflation might look like in the future as well. That is my rule of thumb. I don't have the history to say whether or not it works or not. That's just me and my logic mathematically saying if you maintain that difference, that is how you would be able to compensate for that. I have yet, or I rarely hear people talk about solutions on how to combat inflation. I just hear about it being a problem in the future. And you know how I feel, how I work. I would much rather know how or what I can do to kind of get out in front of it, you know?
Well, here's why you don't hear about it. Let's be completely honest about this. The reason why you don't hear about this is because there's nothing they can do.
Right,
The reason why you don't hear about it is because
right,
there is no way, unless you are a high income earner, to be able to save or invest enough money to safeguard you against inflation, especially when the people who are telling you to invest in these vehicles are profiting while you're losing. They are profiting while you're losing, and they're going to be just fine. So the more money that people put in, and they try to chase this carrot, right? They try to safeguard themselves. They try to do their absolute best. They already know that they're going to lose. They already know that they're going to lose before they go in. It's just a fact. That's why they say things like the 4% rule. That's why does the 4% rule include all of these jacked up healthcare costs, because it is becoming so expensive whether you're going to the dentist or to the doctor. And now you can't even just go to one doctor. You have to have a doctor for like every single thing separately. And so that's frustrating to think of what will this look like in the future. We don't know if things are going to be regulated. We don't know what we can control. What we can control is getting smart and strategizing today and using what we have right now and leveraging what we have right now. And that is exactly what we're showing you. This is what Claudia has. This is what her goals are. We're going to make sure that she reaches her goals, and we're not going to play any games along the way. Can we go back real quick to that? Oops.
I have to ask my producer.
Because she had a goal, right? You want to go back to that?
Oh, hold on. I told you my board's been a little janky today.
Well, somebody call the Vibe Company and let them know. We can't afford this kind of time.
Yeah, I'm frozen.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
Frozen.
Well, she has let me see if I could pull it up maybe. Are you going to have to restart?
We shall soon see.
Oh, go back and see if you can pull it back.
Yeah.
If it'll work. Well, anywho, while he's going through all of this, I think the important part is that Claudia had a goal. So last week we talked about she had two homes. One was a rental and one was her primary residence, and she wanted to pay both of those off before she really started to supercharge her retirement plan, because now she's got this 15-year stretch, and that's what we're going to kind of go over today is just that recap. Are we back on?
Almost.
Okay. And I want to show you this thing because I think this is the part. And so, well, let's answer some questions while you're doing that, because I think this is good. Fletcher, you're going to love this because this is exactly where we're going with Claudia's grandkids. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Are you ready?
I'm ready to answer questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hear that part. So, all right. Well, while we're waiting, let's do that. Okay. Johnson says, I have $66,000 in a 401k at my previous job. I have a home with 164k balance in mortgage worth at least 400k. I'm 60 years old. Can I take the 66k to fund a SKIA? What are the penalties?
So, because you're at retirement age, now I see the previous employer's piece. 400K. So because you're at retirement age, you can access your money whenever you want. You do not have to wait. You do not have to ask for permission to be able to use your money. Now, if you're trying to take money from an employer that you currently work with, they may prevent you from taking any of the growth, any of the match. They may be holding on to the match until you eventually leave the job, but all of the bases that you've put in is accessible to you. And again, because you're at retirement age, there is no penalty. So in that case, you can take whatever you want and do whatever you want with it. But if it's tax deferred dollars, you will owe the taxes on that dollar amount. If it's tax free dollars, meaning Roth dollars, then you don't. So you do have that autonomy to be able to do what you want to do, especially because you're at retirement age. So can you use those dollars to put it into a secure compound interest account? You absolutely can. And then in addition, as it relates to, what is it, the 164,000 balance on the mortgage worth 400, again, that's kind of what we're going through today, is being able to leverage the equity in your home to be able to use it to do something different. And
Yes.
this is not for everyone. What you will notice in this example is Claudia has a lot of cash flow, and it's the cash flow that makes this make sense. If you are in a situation where, you know what, my bills are or I make 5,000, but my bills are 4,999, This is not an activity for you, nor is velocity banking. And using a first position or a second position HELOC to be able to build wealth is just velocity banking. That's all. We're not talking about anything different. So the key here is making sure that there is enough cash flow for you to be able to be successful in a process like this is the key.
And someone asked, what's the difference between velocity and infinite banking? And I was saying, really, we're going to go over that example. You're going to be able to see it in real time tonight. That's
Right.
so that's first off. But I think they're really the same. You're just using two different tools. That's it.
Well, and the thing about velocity banking compared to infinite banking is really about tools. If the infinite banking concept was created by based off using a cash value life insurance product to be able to, getting it properly structured, putting it in a position to be able to work for you, and then you're using those tax-free dollars to go do other things, pay bills, invest, all of these other things. Well, if you understand velocity banking, you can see how using a vehicle like a cash value life insurance policy and structuring it properly and using those tax-free dollars to do other things is pretty powerful. So I like to merge the two. I don't know that there's many people that do, but I am one. I am a huge fan of just leveraging the things that you have available to leverage. So a cash value life insurance policy is an asset that you're able to leverage to do other things. So why couldn't you apply it I'll call it a velocity banking position? But remember, velocity banking is about eliminating debt. Velocity banking is not about generating wealth. Infinite banking is how you use a cash value life insurance policy too. You can use it to eliminate debt, but it's really more about generating wealth when it's properly designed and properly structured. And that's where a secure compound interest account comes into play. So,
Yeah. Turn to your neighbor and tell them velocity banking is not a wealth building strategy.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, so Ann says, if someone's doing this, should they stop contributing to an employer match?
I like to go down the path of it's not this or that, it's both. I hear people when they say, take the free money. I'm not necessarily on that team, meaning I can show you the math where that 3%, 5%, 7%, 10% match is really just deployed for them to be able to take the tax benefit on you and put all the tax burden on you. So I'm not really a big fan of that, but there are companies out there that will do 100% match, a 25% match, a 35% match. That's pretty significant. So I'm more of a, why not do both? And if the math says, hey, stop contributing to your company's 401k, because if you put that money into a secure compound interest account, you can build more faster, hit your goal faster, then absolutely, why contribute to it? But I'd say not everyone fits the same criteria. So I'd say one, assess, do the math, what's the goal, and then, determine which one makes the most sense.
And I say yes, just take it out. Just don't even
Set the
put it,
401k on fire
just all, burn it
and
all
rock.
down. Yes. I say it all the time. They were created by people who thought meat and jello and meat went together for a fancy meal. This is what they grew up eating, and they just thought we would just enjoy it forever. And so why not? Why not keep doing these things? It's just, if you watch the retirement gamble, I promise you, you will feel the same way. I promise you,
Just
you
set
will
the 401k on fire.
burn it down. Yeah.
Here's a fact though. You give a product like MPI, Premium Finance Strategy, enough time, this will replace your company's retirement plan. Why is that? Because this is a pension.
Yeah. That's
This is
simply
the
that.
truest form of a
Yeah.
pension. And the reason companies stopped doing pensions is because they became too expensive for them. But what if you could relieve that burden of it being too expensive for the company that you're with? And now the burden is still on you. You're self-directed. You control how big or how great this pension becomes. But in addition, if you leave the company, you don't have to worry about that pension staying or that pension not functioning the way that it's currently functioning with the company that you're with. You get to take it with you. This pension, this secure compound interest account goes where you go. And so imagine getting a 5, 10, 15% match in that, and they still get the tax benefit off doing that. But Now this pension, this secure compound interest account that's being actually don't get the tax benefit of it. Anyway, but my point is there's incentive for a company to do this. Why? The cost of the 401k, the cost of the 403b, the cost of the TSP is so significant that the companies would actually be saving money on that end
Right.
by eliminating those traditional vehicles and doing something like this. So the only reason hasn't happened yet is advertising, but we'll get there. Like market, like book it. This will replace secure compound interest accounts will replace traditional retirement planning.
I agree. And on top of that, then people are paying, like putting money in a 401k, but then they're also paying for life insurance.
One
Make
stop
it make
shop.
sense. Right,
One
exactly.
stop
Why
shop.
why not allow it to all be together?
Absolutely.
It wants to be together. And that's just the truth. Okay. Let's go and let's get back into that.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, exactly. Here we go. Claudia and her real goal. She first said that her goal was to pay off those two homes that she had. Are we frozen again?
I don't know yet. Keep going.
Okay. Her first, she wanted to pay off both homes to be debt free. And we get that that's a big goal for most people. They just
Mhm.
want to eliminate all of that debt and have it's like a weight on them. And until they get that off, I think it's like a box to check. Like I finally made it, right? You've got the white, this is the new white picket fence, right? It's like paying off the home is the ultimate thing. Somebody said that there used to be like note burning parties or something like that. Like when you make your final
Oh, the mortgage. I think it.
about that.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Absolutely. When the
Yeah.
house is paid off, there would be the note burning because now I own the home. I'm debt free. The home is free and clear. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about that. I never heard that until she had said that, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of cool." Like, for it to be ceremonious too, right? But on that same note, now we've made these things ceremonious. They don't fit us today in today's day and age. What we're going to show you is how Claudia. It doesn't even matter if she were to pay off these homes. She will have so much more benefit by leveraging her assets than she will by trying to get out of debt. You can be debt free and still broke. Just going to throw
That's
that
it.
out there. Keep that in mind every time you think about, I got to be debt free. If it's bad debt, then yes, you got to get rid of it. It's not going to help you. But if it's good, there's a difference. And if it's good debt, then it's actually not helping you to get rid of it and prioritize it anyway. That's the point. It's prioritizing. Is it frozen?
No, we're good.
Okay.
And I think the moral of the story is the vibe board's like I need to be a little bit more gentle. So I just need to caress
Just
and be a,
yeah, just
be sweeter, not as aggressive.
yeah,
And I get
yeah.
it.
Give it
I
love
get it.
on it a little,
I get it. Take your time, young man.
Don't
We're not
rush.
going anywhere.
Yeah,
We're gonna
right.
be here. Just take your time, young man. I get it.
Okay, so um okay. Okay, oh well no, go back up to why are you skipping stuff? Go back up to where the two houses are.
Hmm.
So we can just remind them real quick or else they won't have that context.
Two houses. What are you
Isn't
talking about?
isn't it above
Right here.
that?
Right here.
No, above that. Above that. No?
Oh dear. I know what
Dang
you're
it.
talking about.
So we were talking about stuff that doesn't exist. Okay,
Hmm.
the I didn't get to talk about her grandkids. That was the point. I wish I could go in there right now and do your board for you. Okay, yeah. Claudia has four grandkids. I'll just say it. She wants to retire in 15 years, so that was her time frame, and she wanted to be able to pay off her home and be able to retire with income within 15 years. We're going to do it in 7. We've paid off her home, both homes in 6. That's what we did last time. This time, we're going to build her entire even if she didn't have it, we're not even going to consider if she had any kind of retirement plan to this point. We're going to pretend like Claudia had nothing, right? She had absolutely nothing starting right now, which many people do. And so we're going to show you how to do it in like record time. She also has 4 grandkids, so she wasn't tied to any of these homes. It wasn't her forever home, and she didn't care. She wanted to pay them off, but she wasn't actually planning on staying there forever. So what was the point, right? Well, the point was that she's programmed to check this box, and she was just like, I can't sleep until I know I can check this box. I've been working hard, busting my hind all these years at work. I want to be able to check this box. This is what I've been working for. Well, we spun her world around when we showed her what we're going to show you in just a few moments. When it got down to it, what she really wanted was to be able to retire and spend time with her family and her grandkids. And they don't even live in the same town as her, right?
No, and which is also why she's not tied to these two homes. And again, her objective was to make sure that we paid off the homes, and my objective is to build income while we're doing it,
I
and
want to,
that's the key.
yeah, I want to go, if you can go back up to the time travel for the kids, though, it's on the side of the other one. While we're keeping this in mind, because legacy, it's up. It's up, I think. Oh, okay. While we're talking about the kids, the whole point of everything she wanted to do was to leave this legacy. Like, what does that even mean? People say that. What does it mean? And I think that it's important to be able to identify this dang vibe board. What is going on with this thing? It's messing up my flow. I don't like it. Okay, while he's figuring that out, the point is what I did was I had that same inflation calculator calculate for the kids. So right now they're this age, but if she's wanting to leave a legacy, what is she actually leaving, right? Um, what would she be risking? What does she think she's leaving them as a legacy? And when you see these numbers, I think it's going to make you think differently about legacy. Now, it's not to say, well, if you can't do that, then don't do anything at all. It's not that at all. It's just understanding that when you see a big number and you go, whoa, well, I don't need all of that, right? I don't need all that. I think when you see what inflation looks like in 20 years, think when you see if I make it 40 more years from where I am right now, or 30 or 35 or whatever that number is for you, am I going to have enough to survive? And if I don't, then what happens? If I don't, then my kids have enough to help me? Well, I think this is where the retirement crisis is. Are we just vibeless? Do we have
It
no,
is a vibe.
are we without vibe tonight? No.
I told you I just got to be gentle. That's
What?
all.
All right, well, we'll
It's
figure this out.
little emotional.
Yeah, the
A
point
little
is
emotional.
though that the legacy piece, the generational wealth piece, I think that it sounds like a whole bunch of words until you start seeing these figures for inflation. Do you got it? Okay, I see one circle, two circled, one circle, two circle. All right, here we go. Okay, so here we are. The kids are 1, 4, 4, and 8.
Yep, 1, 4, 4, and 8 got twin set of twins.
Okay, and in 2023, she's making $120,000. In 2043 will be 5 years after she's retired because she has a 15-year time span, right?
That's correct.
They'll be 21, 24, 28. That $120 she will need $206,000 a year in order to match that lifestyle because her buying power, right? Because of inflation. Look at what 2063 is, guys. When they're 40. Can you imagine somebody in the 80s? What was it in the 80s? It was 37, 39K.
Something like 39.
Okay. Remember we just went over that, right? So we saw in the 80s it was $39,000 was the same as making $120,000 in 2023. Same lifestyle, same status type of lifestyle, right? In 2063 when they're 40, when her kids are 40, they will need to make $355,000 a year. And that is what we're talking about. That when people in 1983 were thinking of people in 2023 making $120,000 a year, they're millionaires. Holy cow, what they don't need for anything. You're making $120,000 a year. Are you serious? And now we are looking at these numbers like in 2083, right? They're going to be 60. That's their retirement age, or maybe not. Maybe they'll be 80 when they're 60 because they'll have to draw it out. Point is, $611,000 sounds astronomical. It sounds unrealistic. It sounds like I just made that up. I didn't. Go to calculator.net and use their inflation calculator. That's where we got it. It sounded crazy to them in the 80s too. That's my point. Is they thought we would never need that much money. We're just fine. We're modest. We're okay. But her grandkids, if she's really trying to create generational wealth, they're going to need a wealth building machine that is going to be able to pump out money. Or how else are you going to be able to make this?
And that's just it. So what do you do?
Right.
Like, I
This is
get
a
it.
retirement
The
crisis.
numbers
And
are there,
right.
but what do you do?
All right. Show them what to do, Donnell.
But still, I don't think what I'm about to show fixes the problem. But
Right.
it's I said, what is that part that you can control? The part
Okay.
that you can control is you can do what you can to eliminate risk. And so what are those tools that you can put in place that can help you eliminate risk? Because as of right now, every talking head that is saying, "Hey, this crisis is coming," they all end the sentence with, but keep putting money in the same vehicles that we have currently today that are impacted by risk. So the
Exactly.
best thing you can do is put yourself in a position where we are eliminating as much risk as possible. Will that solve the problem? I can't say that. And I will not stand here and assume that that's all you have to do. But what I can say is if you're putting your money in a vehicle that is focused on eliminating risk, and that is where a secure compound interest account does better than anything that you have tied to the stock market. Real estate, I think, is in a similar boat, but still, real estate can provide the same risk that, because once the market crashes, what usually happens after that, right? So real estate is a little bit more stable, but it's not much. But the key is putting your money in places where you can eliminate risk. And that is all this is about, trying to eliminate as much risk as possible.
And I'm gonna just put this out here because I don't think it gets talked about enough. The amount of retirement plans that should have been part of their estate, right? These funds, these accounts that end up sitting in probate and end up getting juiced and drained by the probate process. And so people think that they are secure, that they're not, because some of these things that they have in place are not actually protected or protecting them or easy for their loved ones to. That legacy is up for grabs. That legacy is not liquid in the same sense that they think that it is. And there's a reason why there's trillions of dollars that have gone into systems like this. So, yep, the boat is sinking. Just add more water. That's that. Mic drop. That's it. That's it right there. And we have to stop doing this. And the only way we're going to stop doing this is if we take control, we get educated, and it's each one teach one. Right? You're here with us. We're teaching you. We can take you as far as we've come, and we keep going farther. So we're just going to keep everybody's coming with us. Then you go get people. You bring them as far as you've come. And that's how we're going to change this. That's how we're going to change what wealth looks like. And that's how we're going to change what the future looks like. When we're older, to the point of some of the people in the chat who are saying, like, hey, I think I'm older, I'm concerned. Can this work for me? You have insurable interest. There is a strategy here, and that's the point. Is we're not selling you on a concept. We are teaching you a strategy, and the strategy can be applied for you. The strategy can work for your kids. The strategy can work for anybody in your home. So that's the whole point. I got
Agree.
to put this disclaimer out here because I haven't been wearing these glasses, even though they're my strongest pair. I need to be wearing them because if I wear these lashes, which are the magnetic kind, and my lash accidentally flies out because it's metal glasses, I will want to die. And I have to put that out there because I feel like it's a little, I don't know, it's feeling like it might happen. Just going to put that out there. If it does, you were here to see it. It went down here on this live stream. I'll tell you the brand if it does. Okay, that way we can all avoid it. Okay, so now I just had to put that disclaimer. I'm going to be thinking about it and playing with them the whole time. All
I
right.
get it.
So now let's get into the strategy. That's what I think we should do. Is
Flip it over.
walk through with Claudia.
Mhm.
Okay.
So to kind of reset the stage a little bit.
Oh gosh. Well, that's a lot of boys to men. There it is.
So to reset the stage a little bit, originally what she wanted to do was just pay off the homes. So we did that a few days ago. We paid
Yeah.
off the homes. We did it in record fashion. Happy about that. But I really didn't apply what I thought should happen. And so what we wanted to do today was just simply kind of flip this around a little bit. And if this was, hey, Donnell, what do you think? What do you think I should do? These are my assets. This is what it looks like. What do you think I should do first? And I always ask that question, what is the goal? Depending on the goal, tells me what actions we should take. And so once you learn that the goal is legacy, then let's focus on the legacy. What do you have in place today that's going to give you the legacy that you think you're wanting in the future? What are you doing today? It's not your 401k. You don't have a pension. So what are those vehicles? And obviously the answer was I don't have one. So let's start there. And as it relates to the wealth equation, the first thing you do is you pay yourself first. So how are you currently paying yourself first? So let's start there. I've got this rental. I've got a rental that's worth upwards of right around $300,000. Awesome. I owe $158,000. So there's about $142,000 in equity. Is this your forever home? Or is the goal to maintain this rental property forever? The answer was no. So if this is not your forever home and you didn't get into this, you didn't buy this rental property thinking, yep, I'm going to do the Burr method and get 10, 12 of them, then why do we have it now if there's an opportunity to turn this rental property into an asset that actually is producing tax-free income for the rest of your life? And so my first suggestion was, what if we just simply sell the rental? And in selling the rental, what does that mean? Well, we sell the rental. There's about $142,000 that would be available in in return once we do that. Now, there absolutely is a capital gains tax going to be associated with that. But the moral of the story is, got $142,000 that's available to me to be able to put somewhere. And then in addition to that, because of the cash flow that she currently has, apply a portion of that cash flow to an MPI plan. And so in doing so, sweetheart, if you jump over to the MPI calculator, in just simply taking the approach of what would happen if we put away $1,000 a month from the cash flow. And again, as we talked last week, and I'll show you what the cash flow looks like today, but we just simply take $1,000 from that cash flow, put it into a secure compound interest account, and allow it to compound along with a lump sum of $200,000. Now, there's a math problem here. If we sold the home for $142,000, got a $142,000 profit, and we still have to pay capital gains, whatever that ends up being, and I'm putting $200,000 in as a lump sum, where's the rest of that math? And I will step through how we get through the rest of the math, but just understand this. The way this calculator works is when you put in this lump sum of $200,000, $100,000 of it is due this year. The remaining $100,000 is due next year. So if I turn my other home into a vehicle that I can leverage, then what I can do is leverage that remaining dollar amount that's required to be able to fund the other half of this lump sum the following year. So that's how this is structured. This is structured as at 53, we're putting in, at age 53, we're putting in $200,000 as a lump sum, $100,000 in year one, $100,000 in year two, and we're doing $1,000 a month in $1,000 a month in premiums. And once that is done, we'll see what that looks like. So if you jump back over to the other side, if we pay off the home, then what happens with the primary home? So again, if we pay off the home's gone. We've put the majority of it, $100,000 of that gain into a secure compound interest account. And I've got this second home that is worth about, it's worth about 440,000. If we did it's worth about 550,000. If we did 80% LTV on that 550,000, we now have about 440,000 available. We owe about 340. So there's an opportunity to take a second position HELOC of $100,000 on this property. And as far as qualifying for something like this, I go back to her original profile. She's got the cash flow. She's got a property that she just sold, so the cash flow is even greater. Her debt to income ratio was never a problem because she makes 8,000, had 5,000 in bills, 3,000 in cash flow. Debt to income was never an issue. So the ability to be able to qualify for a second position HELOC on a home like this is fairly, I'll call it simple, based off her profile. And so what does that mean from a cash flow perspective? So I just want to highlight this a little bit. Again, it's very similar to what we talked about a few days ago. And that is this. She brings home about $8,000 a month. Well, that was 8,000 when we had this 1,200, this $1,200 of rental income that was coming into the property. The mortgage on that rental property was 800 and what was left over was 441 bucks. So this cash flow is no longer 8,000. It's now more like 759 $7,559 dollars. And the expenses are no longer 5,000 either, because in essence that $800 of mortgage on that rental property is gone, but I did introduce $1,000 a month for MPI. So if I introduced $1,000 a month for MPI, the expenses actually increased as a result. So my income coming in decreased, my expenses increased. And so now we're just going to look at what that looks like over time. So when we come here to this graph again, and we kind of cleaned it up a little bit, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to read and less of my handwriting.
You're welcome.
That's what you're here for, sweetheart. So just kind of jumping right in, the home is worth, or the mortgage on the home is $340,000. We are at the 23rd month on the amortization schedule. I can pull this up in the mortgage calculator if I need to, but we've done this. So the mortgage calculators told me where we are in the amortization schedule. And again, the mortgage on the home is $340,000. The mortgage payment is $1,600. What I'm doing is I'm taking a second position HELOC off the primary home for $100,000. When I do that, I'm going to dump that $100,000 directly on to the mortgage. When I do that, when I dump that principal on the mortgage, the new mortgage dollar amount is now $240,000. And now we're going to recast. So we're going to recast this $240,000 at the same location that is currently sitting on the amortization schedule. So this $240,000 is now going to be recast at 23 years. So what does that look like? So if you jump over to the mortgage calculator and we dump in that $240,000, I'll make it bigger, that $240,000 at the same 23-year mark at the same interest rate, we end up with a new payment of $1,174. So instead of $1,600 a month, the new payment is now $1,174. So again, $240,000 at the 23rd month on the amortization schedule. We recalculate things, and that's what this looks like. So if you were to then look at the monthly schedule, so I've got $240,000 that I'm now paying on. I'm paying on the $1,174 over time. Say that again.
My bad.
Oh, no, you're good. It's I just want to make sure this is clear. $240,000 is what the new mortgage amount is. And what we're doing is we're going to recast that $240,000 at the same interest rate of 2.75%, which drops that mortgage payment down from $1,600 a month down to $1,174. So when that happens, that reduces our expenses again. Why does that matter? Well, that matters because when I come over here to the HELOC calculator to then pay off that second position HELOC of $100,000, and I put in that new, make sure I got it right. Yep. Put in that new, that new dollar amount based off the change in mortgage and the payoff of the rental, that all changes that ratio between how much money I'm bringing in compared to how much money is going out. And that difference in that ratio is 7,559, and the new expense amount is actually 4,174.
You're frozen.
Of course I am.
Yeah. Well,
it was inevitable.
We're gonna definitely have to start a bingo card for all of the tech issues that we have, and we put out a prize for the bingo card because we don't know. We've tried to address this 1,000 different ways. We don't really understand what the problem is. And so we will figure this out at some point. We thank you guys so much for hanging in here. When we do have these short little tech issues, he'll be right back. Let's do some questions or some comments in the meantime. I think that would be good. Let's see here. We have, oh, you guys are like talking to each other. That's really good. It's like a family. Oh, here you are. That's good because I have to sneeze.
Record timing. All right. See here. So if you want, you can throw me back over to the mortgage, the HELOC calculator. Yep, that's good. Okay, so as I was saying, we got a second position HELOC for $100,000, and and after we recast the mortgage and paid off the rental, our expenses shifted. They shifted from what was 4774 down to 4174. And so what that ultimately means is now I have a bit more cash flow that I'm able to then pay off this HELOC in record fashion. So we're talking 34 months. But as I mentioned, the goal is not to pay off the HELOC. The goal is to use the HELOC, leverage the HELOC to be able to do other things. And as I mentioned, at age 53, when we started our MPI policy, we dumped in $100,000 in year one, but there's another $100,000 that's coming for year two. Where do we get that from? Well, the thought process is this: if I've got this tool, this second position HELOC that I'm able to leverage, if you view the report, if you take a look at the time that it takes to if you look at the time that it takes to pay down the second position HELOC and achieve that, I'll call it the $50,000 mark or the 50% mark, 50% of $100,000, this point in time is where I am able to then leverage another sum that I can then throw into my secure compound interest account. And so, and ultimately what that means is at around the month 17, 18, 19, somewhere in this range, I'm now going to take another 50,000, add it to the remaining money that was left over from the sale of the home, plus whatever I need to in savings. So remember, it's 142,000. I dumped 100,000 of it in year one. Over the next 12 months, if not, well, 17. So over the next 17 months, that remaining 42,000 minus capital gains, plus this new 50,000 that I'm putting together, plus whatever I have in savings, I can come up with another 100,000 to make that second, I'll call it that second contribution into the secure compound interest account, so that this $200,000 lump sum is satisfied over year one and year two. Because again, year one, year two, that's 24 months. I have 24 months to be able to provide this $200,000 payment. So there's nothing preventing us from being able to leverage that HELOC again to be able to contribute to the second half of this payment. And in doing so, so if you slide over to the other side, so in doing so and looking at the graph, what does that look like? So again, we made the first $100,000 chunk from here to here, the first $100,000 chunk onto the mortgage. Well, we're paying it down over the next 17, 18, 19 months. And we pay it down to a point where we now have room between where the original limit on the second position HELOC is and what we've paid down on it. So there's $50,000 of room here. So what are we going to do with this $50,000? We're going to take this $50,000 and dump it into our MPI plan along with the rest of the proceeds from the sale of the rental property. And when we do that, that compensates for that $100,000 for year two. Well, but what happens with the HELOC? When that happens, we're now starting the clock over. And if you remember on the HELOC calculator, it takes 36 months for us to pay off this $100,000. So the 36 months that it takes for us to pay off this or pay down this $100,000 HELOC, what's happening with the mortgage? Well, during this same time, we've gone from this $240,000 mortgage over the 17 months it took for us to get the free up to 50,000 plus the remaining 36 months, we've gone from 240,000 down to 202. Well, you know how this process works. Once I paid back or paid down or paid off that $100,000 HELOC, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to leverage it again. I'm going to leverage that HELOC because this is about getting to the goal. What's the goal? I want to pay off these homes and I want to build a secure compound interest account. Okay. So once I pay off that HELOC, I'm going to take another 100,000 and I'm going to dump it on to this mortgage. This mortgage is currently sitting at 202. It's in the amortization schedule. It's sitting in, I'll blow it up so you can see it a little bit better. At that $202,000 mortgage, it's sitting in year 19, meaning there's 19 years left on the amortization schedule at this point. So when I take this $100,000 from this HELOC, it immediately brings the balance back up to 100,000. But when I dump this 100,000 onto the mortgage, it drops the mortgage down to 102,000. Well, when it drops the mortgage down to 102,000, what do I do then? I recast the mortgage. And when I recast the mortgage, what is that new payment? I can put it into the calculator for you if you would like, but it's just facts. When you recast that mortgage at 102,000, it ends up being $575 a month. So when you dump in this, so when you redo the mortgage and it drops the mortgage payment down to $575 a month, that then increases your cash flow. And because your cash flow has been increased, now the time that it takes to pay off this $100,000 of this HELOC shortens. So what does that look like? Long story short, this $100,000 HELOC ends up being paid off again in about 83 months. But I want to blow this up as much as I can because the goal though is not to pay it off. So there's two things happening here. When that HELOC goes back up to $100,000, we're methodically just doing velocity banking, putting our income in, paying bills out of it. The cash flow lives on the HELOC. As we do that, we're methodically paying down this HELOC, and we're paying it down at a faster rate than what we're doing with the mortgage. Notice this is the mortgage, and we're paying it down slower because of that amortization schedule, right? All the interest is up front, so it's being paid down slowly. But there's this point in time where we owe $92,000 on the mortgage, and we have created enough room around $92,000 on the HELOC. So I don't even have to actually pay it off to zero. It's at this point, which is right around month 83, to where I have enough money in the HELOC that I can now pay off the mortgage. And so I do so. But when I take this $92,000 on the HELOC and pay off the mortgage, which is also sitting at $92,000, the balance on the HELOC jumps up to 100. But what just happened at month 83? At month 83, we have now paid off this home. Month 83, if you divide 83 by 12, we have now paid off this home in what is that, 7 years? And so in essence, just like she asked, the primary home has now been paid off after 83 months, 7 years, and the cash flow has now improved. Again, the 7559 is based off not having that rental income, but our expenses have dropped. Why has it dropped? We no longer have a mortgage payment. We no longer have what was originally a $1,600 mortgage payment, even though we were methodically breaking it down throughout these 83 months as well. But because that $1,600 mortgage payment is gone, our expenses our basic expenses are all that's left. So that means our cash flow has improved. Now, if we wanted to, because this is the HELOC, if we wanted to, we can now pay this HELOC off in another 28 months. But again, nowhere in our conversation was we wanted this HELOC paid off. And I am not a fan of paying off things that aren't necessary. So what I would rather do is step back, take a look at this situation a little bit differently, understand what my cash flow is, understand where I'm at in my time horizon, and what is it that we could do differently to be able to still continue to hit the goal. So here's what I mean. If you remember, we started our MPI plan with $1,000 a month and a $200,000 lump sum for the next 15 years. We are now at, of that 15-year period, we are now at 7 years later. At age 53, 7 years later means she is sitting at 60 years old. We are at 60 years old with no mortgage and no mortgage payment on either property. Well, one of the properties is gone, but the bottom line is we have hit our goal, and there's still 8 years left before her time horizon is up. So what do? So rather than take the additional 28 months required to pay off this HELOC, my thought was, what if we take a different approach? And my thought process is this. What if we now, on this primary home that is easily worth $500,000, what if we take this primary home and get a first position on the primary home? So what do I mean by that? Because there's no mortgage, I'm now going to go to the bank and I'm going to say, hey, I would like a first position HELOC for this primary residence that I have that now currently has zero mortgage. What are the odds of me qualifying for that? I go back to her profile. She's still making $120,000 a year. I don't show her making any more money. I don't show her making any less. Still making $120,000 a year. Her credit profile has not done anything but improved. So what is the likelihood of her qualifying for a first position HELOC on this home that has no mortgage? And now your argument might be, but she has a $100,000 second position HELOC. That is true. And if I haven't confirmed anything else with you, you have the ability to have both. It is all about how you structure things and how your credit profile sits in order for you to be able to do so. So the thought process is this. We're going to get a first position HELOC for $200,000. Why $200,000? Well, a couple things. The reason we're getting a first position HELOC for $200,000 is because there's two actions that I want to take. The first is I want to take $100,000 of this 200 and pay off the second position HELOC. I want to use an asset to pay off an asset. You can call it a debt. I want to take a debt and pay off a debt. Why? Because I can. Not for any other reason. So if I take this $200,000 HELOC, which again, I can guarantee she can qualify for, take $100,000 of that 200, pay off that HELOC right at month 83. So this is all happening at month 83. Well, there's now $100,000 left. What's the goal? The goal is income. Well, since my time horizon is still 8 years, I still have time. Because my time horizon is 8 years, I want to take advantage of this 8-year time horizon. So what I want to do is I want to take $100,000 and dump it into another MPI plan. Now, if this was me that structured this, we wouldn't need a second MPI plan to do what we're doing. But because of the limitations of the calculator, I'm treating this as though we're starting a brand new policy at age 60, and we're going to let it run till age 68. We don't have to do this. It's just difficult for me to show it in the calculator, so I'm kind of breaking things up. I am not touching her first MPI plan that has $1,000 and a lump sum of $200,000. It's been growing. We're at year 7, and it's been growing. This machine has been running. If this was the real life, real world, I would just take this extra 100,000, take this extra $1,000 a month and dump it into the current vehicle and restructure her current policy. But I just can't do that in the calculator. So I'm building a second MPI plan. Here's the other piece that you need to realize around that. That also means that my compound cycles have started over. So I'm not feeding a machine that's already running. So even the income that you're going to see on the second MPI plan is actually less than what would actually be there, because I'm literally starting this whole process all over again. So just to recap, take a first position HELOC for $200,000. We're going to take 100,000 of it, pay off that second HELOC that we already have. And then we're going to take the remaining 100 and $1,000 of cash flow, and we're going to put it into a second MPI plan. And the cash flow is sitting right here. What does that look like? Well, if my income coming in is still 7,559, My expenses are down to 3,600, and I add an additional expense of another $1,000 to go into another MPI plan. That means my cash flow has changed. The first thing I want to do is show you how we pay off this 200,000, because I'm going to take this cash flow, meaning this difference, and now I'm going to pay off the first position HELOC for 200,000. So if you jump over to the calculator, sweetheart.
Yep. Boom. Calculator.
So now we have a $200,000 HELOC. And I think the only argument that can be made here is I've been using the same 8.76% just because I can. Maybe the 8.76 is higher. Maybe it's lower. My point is the strategy. Just follow the strategy. I've got $200,000 first position HELOC on this primary residence. Again, the income is 7,559 coming in. So what is that? I got to run over here and find it. What is that dollar amount? Yep, there we go. And what is that dollar amount that's being contributed into the HELOC? It's a total of, I think it's 4,600. The amount of expenses has jumped up because I added $1,000 a month that I'm building a new MPI plan with. And so what is that horizon? If we were to pay it off, if we were to pay it off, it would take another 96 months. Well, 96 months, 8 times 12 is 96. So in essence, here, let me highlight it so to make sure you see it. In 96 months, putting that our income in, paying our expenses from it, just simply doing velocity banking, it would take 8 years to pay off that $200,000 first position line of credit. And if we do that, that puts us right at age 68, which puts us right at her goal, which is the time horizon of 15 years. So the way this is structured is, if we do this properly, she would be able to still hit her goal in the same time frame and be able to produce more income. But what does that income look like? So if we jump over here to this MPI calculator, and so again, we're starting a new policy at age 60. Till age 68 is what again, 8 years to let this thing run. I'm dumping in $100,000. And again, even though this 100,000 is showing 50 in year 1, 50 in year 2, that's fine. And $1,000 a month. What does that look like? It looks like an additional $23,000 tax-free for the rest of your life. But that's $26,000 on top of what? Remember the original MPI plan? The original MPI plan started at age 53 till age 68 with $100,000 in it. That one is $111,000 in tax-free income. So I have one policy working for me that's producing let's call it $112,000 tax-free. Has liquid cash value. It's an asset worth $871,000. And then starting at age 60 till age 68, I've got a second one working for me that's producing $26,000 tax-free. So 112 plus 26 is pretty significant. If you remember a couple days ago when we built this out for her, we actually came up with $85,000 tax-free. Again, just simple math. I think this one is a little bit better, and we still accomplished the same goal. But what did we do different? What we did different was, instead of taking I call it the short ranged approach and paying off both homes as quickly as possible, we kind of spelled this out over time, over that, I'll call it 15-year period. We just spread this out over this 15-year period. And because we have decent income, because we have decent cash flow, we allowed these vehicles to work for us. Instead of allowing the bank to leverage our mortgage and the equity in our home themselves to be able to do the same thing we're doing, all we did was take the same action the bank would normally do. We just put these dollars in a vehicle that will allow us to achieve tax-free income for life. So again, 111,000, asset worth 871,000, plus $26,000 with an asset worth $240,000.
And what's the
So
death benefit?
so the 240,000 death benefit, or the $26,000 one, which was $100,000 lump sum plus $1,000 a month, it's a death benefit of right around $930,000 initially, and $1.3 million on top of that. And then for the second, or for the original one, which was a $200,000 lump sum, $1,000 a month, we're talking about a death benefit of right around $2 million initially. But God forbid if something were to happen to her, she's passing on $3.3 million. Again, show me the 401k IRA. Show me what vehicle. How about this? Show me the Burr method that would allow her to not only just achieve this income in a 15-year time span, but also leave or provide a death benefit of, what is that? Well over almost $5 million of death benefit at some point. Like, it's pretty dang significant. So if you slide back over to the other side, just to kind of recap and kind of button this thing up.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? This number is wrong. This number right here is absolutely wrong. So what we did end up doing inside of MPI is we took $1,000 early on at age 53, dumped in $200,000 at the onset, and we ended up producing somewhere around $111,000, $112,000 a year. But in addition to that, starting at age 60, we put in another policy. And as I mentioned, I'm only doing this way because of the limitations of the calculator. Right. I would not have to do a second policy in this case, but I'm doing it just, again, so you can see it. But starting at age 60, $1,000 a month, another $100,000 lump sum, you add these two incomes together, and we're talking about $137,000 tax-free for the rest of your life, starting at age 68. And you have a primary home free and clear that's worth anywhere between $550,000 to $600,000, and you have an asset, two assets actually, worth $871,000, and that's actually plus an additional $240,000. So this $871 plus $240 is the total amount of the asset that's been accumulated inside of MPI. All because we structured things a little bit differently. And then once she goes to Florida or wherever she goes to be with her family, the question is, what does she do with this asset? She doesn't have to get rid of it. But how awesome is it to have a free and clear asset worth over $600,000, $137,000 tax-free in income, and an asset worth well over $1 million? Where else can you do that?
Well, your MPI plan doesn't have to be managed. The toilet can't flood and ruin things. Somebody's not going to go inside of it and not take care of it. It's never going to cost you a single dime more than what you're putting in there. And there's the risk is not there. And so while I understand that, like, we're not making any more land, like, this isn't Superman. We're not planting gems in the sea and then this land is going to grow out of the sea. That's not where we are. So owning property is, I mean, for tons of people, I mean, let us know if you're like, why would he sell this house? Why would he tell her to sell a house? Who wants to sell a house? We should have as much property. We should own as many things, especially land and property, as we can, because that is a mentality from a lot of people. And I don't say that I disagree. I don't say that it's a bad strategy to hold on to that property. So I don't think that this is necessarily what she actually should do. This is what we would do if the goal were to get the most amount of income tax-free for life. That's really what this is about, showing different ways that you can strategize. Now, can I tell my way?
Sure.
Okay. Do you guys want to hear my way? And if you think there's a different way, or you're like, wait, why didn't he do this? Or maybe she could have done that at this step. We want to hear it, because I think this is a great exercise when we're going through these, to say, hey, wait a second. If I were doing this, if this were my situation, this is how I would have done that. This is how we're going to learn. This is how we're going to strengthen our ability to strategize, not just for ourselves, but for each other too, right?
And before you jump in there, I don't think there's any wrong answers. Like there are an infinite number of ways to address this. But it has to start here. What's the goal? And are we putting ourselves in a position to be able to start hitting that goal today? The piece I disagreed with when we were doing this a few days ago was rather than start a secure compound interest account today, it was, hey, no, I want to pay off the two properties now. That is the only part I disagreed with.
The priority
Right.
for all, like debt reduction,
Exactly.
Dave Ramsey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the piece that I just want to just if nothing else, I just want to leave with this. Pay yourself first. I don't care what your goal is. The only way you're going to hit your goal is if you start your goal. And it's pay yourself first. You pay yourself first, regardless of what the vehicle is, regardless of what the steps are, regardless of whether or not you have the type of cash flow she has, regardless of whether you have the equity or the rental property or the stuff and the things. None of that matters. Pay yourself first. And then let's figure out where you put it. But once you pay yourself first and you teach yourself how to be comfortable with whatever that difference is between putting your money away so that it's in a position, so it's ready. You stay ready, you don't have to get ready. It's ready to go to work for you. It's ready to bring other employees with them so they can build compound interest. Just pay yourself first. Start with a high yield savings account. I don't really care. But then when you run across people like me, and we have those vehicles that we can lay out in front of you so that you can start putting your money to work. It's not a question of, do I need to pay a debt or should I pay a debt first? You've already conditioned yourself to pay yourself first. And now that you're paying yourself first, now we go find that vehicle that we can eliminate risk, or not eliminate, reduce risk, such that you can build secure compound interest and hit your goal. So really don't think there's a wrong answer. So sweetheart, I'm excited to hear what your thought process is around what your approach might be. I just don't think there's so many different answers here.
And
You don't
I
want to hang
love,
out with me because you're not here.
no, can you see me now?
Technical difficulty number 54.
Oh gosh, you guys can see me though, right? Because I can see me.
There you go. I now see you.
Okay. So there's a few comments in the chat that were like, yes, owning land, owning property, it's like the gateway to freedom. Definitely, my plan is to have two properties. One, Veronica says one that she can have, and then one she can pass on to her kids, right? So there's, I think, a lot of, and I would have agreed with this. I would have agreed with this. I would have even agreed with this even a year ago, I think, because you deal with so many real estate investors on the self-directed side with self-directed accounts, like specific self-directed, not the concept of becoming
Yeah.
self-directed, but and seeing what they're doing and understanding like the opportunities over there. I see them, so I can understand. And honestly, why wouldn't you want to own your own home at least so that you can
Leverage it.
yeah, where are you going to live? You got to live somewhere. If it's not yours, it's somebody else's, right? Okay. Here's the thing. It's honestly at a cost. It all is at a cost. And I think it depends on where you are too. Location matters. We all know this. But if you saw last week, the best we could do for her, putting as much as we could front load, as much as we could in the front for her to get it compounding quickly because she lost an entire compound cycle, waiting to save these two houses, waiting to pay these off, prioritizing this property over her retirement plan and her financial security. She prioritized these properties not having balances on them. What difference does it make if the properties have balances on them if you're broke? Go back to the inflation thing I did. That's what I want to look at. Because here's what it is. The best we could do for her was $85,000. Raise your hand if you think retiring with $85,000 until you saw this sounded like a good plan. Sounded like a great plan, matter of fact. Tax-free, $85,000. Sign me up. Like, yes, that sounds like I can survive. That sounds like financial security. That sounds like I will be okay. That is what the best case was for her last live stream. And she going from 120 to 85, and that's what she gets to retire with. It's better than those who have been saving up $1 million in their retirement account, which is the recommended amount, right? To only get 40,000, which is 1983 prices, right? 40,000. You can't live off of that in 2043. You can't live off of, you can, that's barely enough in 2023, right? But looking forward, we said 85,000 is the best. She would have probably, if you're having the conversation 2 days, she would have said, you know what, I can make that work. Let's do it. And in 2043, you're having the conversation of downsizing. In 2043, you're having the conversation of selling the house. Then you can't compound the money from the house that you sell in 2043. You can't start compounding it in 2023, right? That's the difference, I think.
Well, don't forget though, as inflation increases, so does the price of real estate.
I
So,
I get that, but
I mean,
it's not per year tax free for the rest of your life and can be passed down to your kids. Here's my
yeah, I
point. Go
agree. Which
go
is why I
to
go to leverage both.
yeah, go to the kids again. Because here's the part. It's one thing to have retirement for you. It's one thing to have financial security for you. Like that's already an achievement in itself, right? But if you're talking about generational wealth, it can't sound like a life insurance policy. It can't look like you're handing people who are born, not even born, may be born yet, who knows, that you're handing them some lump sum, or maybe you put it in a trust. The chances of people actually putting something in a trust is less likely than likely, just based off of what we know. And if you are putting in something in a, like I have a life insurance, this is generational wealth, they're going to get this chunk of money. What are they going to do with it? Do they know what to do with it? Right? Will they do what you think that they should do with it? Now, I think that there are kind of strategies that you can put in place, especially as it relates to like a trust and being able to kind of control those funds, from the grave. They say that sounds horrible. People should stop saying that.
No,
I'll
it's
be
not horrible because that is absolutely what my conversations transition into. When you're talking about dollars like this, the last thing you want is for that child who you think might be irresponsible with money to now all of a sudden have a $3.5 million nest egg that they have to figure out what to do with. So you absolutely like in most of my conversations, they start with, hey, pay yourself first. Let's get this vehicle started. Let's start this machine running. That relationship evolves into this machine is running, and wow, it's actually turning into what you said it was going to turn into. Now, what do I do? Well,
right.
what you do is absolutely a trust. What you do is absolutely you put this money in a vehicle such that here's the role of the trust. The role of the trust is simply to distribute income. As people pass away, it absorbs the death benefit. As people are born, it buys policies on the babies. And so as the babies grow, then you put criteria in place. Prenups have to be educated, whatever that criteria is, but it allows you to then dictate what the next 500 years of your legacy looks like. You're setting yourself up for disaster or setting your legacy up for disaster if you're not thinking of
Right.
putting both your land and your other assets in a trust. But that's a conversation for down the road. Step one, though, is pay yourself first.
Yeah, exactly. But also, if you're ultimate, this is why Donnell always asks, "What is the goal?" And Nathan, by the way, he's asking how much for consultations. They're always free.
Yeah.
You just put some time on his calendar. I could put this banner up so that you can go there and get that information right there. And then you can get our free resources and access to his calendar to book an appointment. And then you just talk about the goals. The goal is so important though, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And by the time you get there, you go, oh, this is where the roads took me. That's not having a goal, right? It's not. So if the goal is generational wealth, then you have to be looking forward. Are they going to have enough to give them that head start? Imagine right now that you had somebody, a grandparent or a parent, who had started something like this for you, and you have an extra $100,000 per year for the rest of your life, no matter what. And if you just kept feeding it, whatever that amount was, it would just continue to grow. It doesn't have to stop growing just because Claudia has stopped working. She could take some money from her policy and feed it right back into her policy. She could do that because she's taking it as income. She can just put it right back in, right? She could take chunks out of her house and never pay this house off and just continue to use this as a like a continuous loop.
Absolutely. And that's the part, once this home is paid off, if you wanted to pay it off, there's nothing preventing you from continuously leveraging this home. Even if you leave this earth and there's still debt on this home, what you've done for your legacy inside of a secure compound interest account pales in comparison.
Okay, we talk a lot about retiring early, and I think that it's a privilege to be able to retire early, but it also says that you either had leverage or you had a strategy, right, to be able to do that, or you had a really good job and you just balling out of control, whatever the case is. Retiring early is not something that everybody gets to do, but we can see now that within 7 years, she's paid off her house. Within 15 years, she has a full-fledged retirement plan where she is going to be okay. Wouldn't you agree? Like, I'm raising my hand. I agree that she will be okay for the rest of her life on $111,000. That's tax free, by the way.
137.
$137. That's right. I forgot the other one that you added on there for the rest of her life. However, she'll be 60s. What
68.
was it? 68?
68.
Okay. When her kids are 68, when her grandkids are 68, they will need $611,000. Can you circle it for me? I don't have my pen,
Sure.
so I can't circle it and I can't log into the Whiteboard. $611 by the time they are her age. It is not the same game. And unless we are strategizing to be able to put our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids in positions, what is going to happen to them? We don't know. We have no idea what positions that they'll be in. But isn't it worth it? That's the point. That's part of the point that I wanted to make, was to show my strategy was, instead of that second policy, instead of funding any kind of second policy, is to get her policy underway. I think 111 was good for her because she has other ways of leveraging too. Plus, that wasn't her forever home, so there's some opportunity maybe there too. It was to, if legacy was truly her goal, then to get those kids policies and get those accounts compounding now, compounding when they're 1, compounding when they're 4, and let's show what that would look like. It may not look like anything in the 15 years that Claudia had as her
Right.
time span. In their time span, though, it looks completely different.
Absolutely. And just to restate what you just said, if we were to take that $100,000, and I think it was $1,000 a month that I started the second policy with at age 60, I think what you're saying is take that $100,000 lump sum and that $1,000 a month and spread it across all 4 grandchildren. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
Yep.
Let's do
Let's
it.
see what that looks like. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll be looking in here for those questions so we can address those when we're done here. Oh, real quick though, I want to say this for those who might not have been around in the beginning. We have gone over on the last live stream this same example, but we did it exactly how she wanted to do it when she called for the consultation with Donnell. This was her plan. She watched our live streams and she came up with the plan. She was like, yes, I'm doing a first position HELOC. This is how I'm going to do this. This is my goal. He always says, what's your goal? She's like, my goal is to pay off these houses and then I want to retire in 15 years. And that was her goal. So we showed the strategy of exactly how she could do that in record time too. It was like 6 years. She paid off both houses and she was able to still fund and start funding her retirement plan. This time, we're showing what we would have done different that would have put her in a completely different position. And this is the we don't know what we don't know syndrome. We all have it, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so, therefore, if we were not to tell her that she would have this completely different outcome, she would be missing out on all of this tax free income, all of this benefit for her and her family. And if her ultimate goal was actually to leave a legacy, what is she leaving if they don't know what to do with it, right? What is she leaving if it's a drop in a bucket compared to what it is that they're actually going to need, because she was thinking to herself that in 2023, $100,000 sounds like a lot of money. She wasn't thinking about inflation. So what we were showing before was in 1983, right? $40,000 was the same as $120,000 today. So she's back in 1983 going, you know what? My granddaughter is going to be so glad that I have this $40,000 for the rest of my life. My kids are going to be glad. They don't have to take care of me because I have $40,000 for the rest of my life. Let's just, just for the sake of apples to apples. Well, that's not true. We already saw that by the time she hit 2000, that 40,000 wasn't helping her. That 40,000 wasn't paying medical expenses. That 40,000 wasn't going to do very much for her, right? But back then, that's how we plan. We're just thinking about today, and we have to start thinking forward. We have to stop doing the surface math on what it is today, what the benefit is today, and we have to start thinking forward, because if there's a few people that had grandparents and parents that were able to do that for them. We can now do that for our kids. We can now do that for our grandkids. It should no longer be negotiable to set our descendants, right, up for success, to build these machines that just continue to produce wealth, because other families have done it for a really long time. And the only reason why they're able to do it is because they knew it even existed. Well, now we know it exists, right? So it should be non-negotiable. Our grandkids should say, yes, exactly. I am a trust fund baby. I can still go do things, and I can still make a life for myself and have a career, and that's fine. But I am not going to struggle. I am not going to suffer. And even if your part is, if the road or the journey is this long, and your part is that you're able to push them this much forward, do it. Push them. Let's change what wealth looks like in our country, for sure, but in our world. I think who is benefiting from these systems, the only difference between them and us is that they're just doing it. That's it.
I agree.
They're not smarter. They're just doing it. So, okay, I will get off of that now.
Box removed.
Okay. So we do have some questions here. One of them was from April.
Wait a minute. You asked me to put money in the calculator. Are we
Yes.
going to look at the
Yes. Okay.
thank you.
Yep. So here you go.
So again, 1 year old, 4 year old, no, 1 year old, 2 4-year-olds, and an 8-year-old.
Yep.
And here's the because I follow where you're going with it, and I assume this is where you were going as well. Again, just to reset a little bit, the thought process was, instead of starting a second compound interest producing vehicle for the same person, why not take this $100,000 and spread it amongst the 4 grandchildren, which she can absolutely do. But just understand, with children, there is a minimum, or there's a maximum that you can contribute, and that maximum isn't a whole lot. And so this is actually more than you would actually be able to do for a 1-year-old, but this is about the only way that I can simulate it. So if you was to take $500 a month, $6,000 a year for a 1-year-old by age 25, okay, it's an asset worth $303,000, $24,000 a year in income is what would be able to be achieved. And I know the max would be around $500,000 in death benefit that would be able to be purchased. And this is more, but the reason I'm okay with showing this as being more is because we both know that as these people get older, more will be able to be contributed. I just can't simulate this effectively in this calculator. Again, another limitation to the calculator. So the assumption is, okay, you do this for a 1-year-old. What does this look like at the end of that? I think it's that 8-year period. So they would be 9. So again, not that much, but it's still a vehicle that is growing. It's a machine that is working. And because this machine is working, you give this machine time, it does some amazing things. So what does that look like when, again, if never change the dollar amount, if the this grandchild who's 1 today ended up being 45 and just maintain the same $500 a month, what does that look like? You talk about retire early, all because grandma made the decision to, instead of dumping in $100,000 on her own secure compound interest account to make sure she was able to have her WTF moment. She spread that wealth amongst her grandchildren. You've set them up to have $274,000 by the age of, what is that, 45? So not only is retire early an option, we're talking about um, a legacy that will be unlike anything else that this family has ever experienced. So they will never want for another dime from this point forward. Now,
Well,
my only challenge to you though is this can all be done simultaneously. So
yeah.
it's not you don't do the second policy. It's you can do the second policy because remember, we got a free and clear home. What are you doing with the free and clear home?
Your
That's where
leverage.
I would fund these kids' policies using the free and clear home. But okay, keep going. This is your example. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why I needed to share the inflation is because if I showed that they could have $274,000, people would be going like, "What do they need with $274,000? Why would I go through all these extra steps to give somebody that much money?" Now you see it's not that much money.
Right.
By
From an
the time
inflation
they're 40,
perspective, this is no
right?
different than the 120 or I follow what you're saying.
Yeah, this amount of money right here is no different than making $40,000 in
Right.
1983.
Right.
It
That's
is
fair.
not the same. So you're looking at $274 and the feeling that comes over you is how you feel about $274,000 in 2023. Which is how somebody felt about $120,000 back in 1983, right?
Right.
So this is my point is that at the time $40,000 was not an insane amount of money, right? But $40,000 in 1983 was a decent income. And $120,000 in 2023 is a decent income, right? This is the decent income for them at that
Right.
at that at that
It
year.
is it is very possible that you are 100% very well, I guess can't be possible and be 100%, but it's very possible that you're correct that $274,000 in income at age 45 may just be hitting the bar.
Right.
Yeah, so you're
That's
absolutely correct.
what I just want to stress because this seems like, oh gosh, there's numbers that they're showing on the screen. If we were in 1983 and we were saying in 2023 they're going to need $120, you probably would have went, yeah, right. That's lies, cap, right? Hashtag immediately hanging up, getting off the live stream. They're just over here lying. It's true. It's just the world that we live in, we have to take into account for these things. So, property, yes. If you want to own property, don't own it for the sake of just owning it, though. Leverage it.
And I think what you're also speaking to is I go back to I don't think there's a wrong answer. I don't think it's an or. It's not an I don't think it's an or discussion. It's all and. It's can you do this and do that? And it is clear that she has the asset to be able to do so. And
Yeah.
it's learning how to leverage the asset you have to put your family in a position such that you don't have these problems. You have these choices. Putting
Right.
yourself in a position such that you can leverage your home, leverage your income. Again, it's the reverse of what we're used to doing. Everyone knows someone who has eliminated or emptied their 401k so that they go buy that house.
Yep.
Everyone knows someone who's emptied that 401k so they could plan that wedding. Everyone knows someone who has emptied that 401k to do everything other than focus on their future.
Yes.
And why not take your income and your home, structure your home differently so you can use these two vehicles to then fund your future? It's just a mindset shift.
Yes.
That's all. It's looking at this as this home is my largest asset. How can I leverage this home to get us to that place? That's it. Like there's nothing else to discuss here. It is just simply looking at your home differently. Well, how can I put myself in a position such that this home is building wealth?
That's it. Let's take one second real quick. We know that we have a high percentage of people who watch us on the TV, and we want to make sure that if they have questions or they want their numbers ran, that you have access to do that. So here is where you'll take a picture of that QR code and text us. Comes right to us. And by the way, it really is us. It really is us. Donnell had a call today, and a lady dang near freaked out that he didn't pick up the phone, and she was expecting like a, some receptionist or something like that. But it's really us. So if you call and we answer and you hang up, you're hanging up on us. Hanging up on us. You're also texting with us too. So there it is. You've had time now. Take your camera out, take the picture, and we love that you guys tune in from the comfort of your home. Look in their house. It's nice, right? Is that weird, guys? Okay,
It's weird.
let's go back to the where are we at? Let's go back to some comments. We do have some comments. So we don't need to go through all the kids and add up
Yeah, I think
that.
the message
Yeah.
has been sent. It is, hey, instead of I follow exactly what you're saying here, putting the kids in a position such that they can overcome whatever that inflation problem might be in the future. Like I think you're spot on with that. I just don't think it's a this or that. I think it's an and. Like
Yeah.
we putting yourself in a position so you can do all of those things.
It's
But
putting
where
the
does it start?
oxygen it's putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, right?
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
not you just let the kids go and you just have the oxygen mask on, but you do have to put it on yourself. So I do understand your strategy. We were walking through this, I was like, well, one, I feel like she could have done what we do and pay an annual payment instead of a monthly payment along the way. That way, that money can be sitting on the HELOC all year long. I guess it's six one way, half a dozen the other is what you were sharing me.
Yeah, there are infinite ways of approaching this. I just don't think there's any wrong answers.
Yeah, I
But the
agree.
key is pay yourself first. That's the key. If
Right,
you wait 10 years, you're losing two compound cycles.
right.
Pay yourself first. And it does not matter the dollar amount. If you can't do 10%, do 5. Teach yourself how to spend less, save more. I mean, this is there's no rocket science here. And then it's the key is the vehicle. What vehicle do you put it in? A secure compound interest account. Again, I just haven't seen anything that can beat it. So it's pay yourself first. The message for today: pay yourself first.
I do want to say this because we call it secure compound interest account, but then people are like, where do I get one? And there's so many people out there who could, well, hold on. There's so many people out there that if they just start Googling secure compound interest account, they're not going to end up with an MPI plan. An MPI is different. This is not a traditional IUL. This is not something that somebody who has an IUL or can structure
Can
an
do right.
IUL or is licensed to do that can make for you. They will say that they can, but they absolutely cannot. You have to be certified in order to write the policy for MPI specifically. And there's nothing else that functions like this. And that's why you have to be certified,
Well,
right?
there's something else that functions, but you have to have $5 million in net worth to be able to do it. So
Yeah, well, that was
then
a
there's
question
that.
too. They were watching another one of your videos, and they were saying that you were saying that this is when MPI became available, like premium financing just became available for people because before you did have to have such a high net worth. What other tools have recently come to market for people that didn't exist before?
What do you mean?
That was the question. Like, what other new investment or retirement tools are kind of like in a sense new like MPI?
And that's just it. I don't think any of this is new. It's really more what we're attempting to do is pull back the curtain on just some things that have always been there. They just haven't been readily available to you and I.
Yeah.
Like being self-directed, getting a self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k to be able to invest in what you want when you want. So many people think that this is a concept that has been recently created when it never has. The original 401k has its own EIN number. The 401k that you have with your employer has its own EIN number. The problem is your employer controls that, and the custodian that it's with is captured. The custodian, Fidelity, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, like you name it, the custodian that your 401k, 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, the custodian that your retirement account is currently with can only be invested in what those institutions offer. The problem is not your IRA. The problem is not your 403b. The problem is where it is. Because of where it is, it's limited to what you can invest in. You can only invest in what Fidelity, the list of things that Fidelity offers. That's it. But the structure, the I'll call it the function of your retirement account, that function is there. It's in the IRS code. It was originally put there. That's not new. It's just that people don't know about it because we are meant to be sheep. Let's keep us focused on the goal. The goal is you work your 40 hours, you go home, you have a good time with your wife, and then you wake up and you go back to work, and then you do it all over again. And then hopefully you get to a point where you can retire, but while you still have your health with you, and then you pass on. Versus how do you leverage these vehicles now so that they aren't taking 2/3 in fees from you? How do you leverage these vehicles now to be able to put them in a place that isn't subject to who's president or whether or not Elon Musk changed the name of some social media site? Like it's ridiculous. These items have always been here. They are not new. MPI is not new. The strategy has been around since Roth was invented. Roth was brought into play in 1997, actually started in 74, but it evolved to what we know as Roth today in 1997. Premium financing, the strategy of premium financing started in 1997. It just wasn't, we just weren't privy to it. So it's not that it's new. I don't think any of this is new. It's understanding how to leverage these things. A first position HELOC is not new. It's just that banks have a job to do. The bankers have a job to do. Their job is to sell you the products that they offer. If first position HELOC isn't there in their list to offer you, guess what? You're not going to be offered it. Why pay advertising dollars on something that I'm not going to offer you? Why won't they offer it to you? Because they make less money. What is a business role? The business's role is to be a capitalist, make money. So they're only going to offer you things that they can leverage you with to be able to make more money off of you. But once you learn that these vehicles have always existed, they've always been available, we just have to do a better job of being educated to understand how we access these vehicles. And that is the purpose of this channel. I don't think there's anything that is, I'll call it new. Infinite banking is not new. Velocity banking is not new. Using cash value life insurance products to be able to leverage and use as income, it's not new. It's just that we may not have been properly educated on how to leverage these things.
Well said. Okay, so we have some questions and I want to get them. But if we got to keep them buttoned up, or because we got to get through all the questions. Just throwing it out there. Okay. Lolo says, would I be able to start an MPI policy for my niece who does not live with me and is over 21? Great question.
Depends on what you mean by start. Can you fund a policy for your niece? You absolutely can fund a policy for anyone. Can you own that policy that you're funding for your niece? That requires insurable interest. Now, if that niece lived with you and there was some dependent relationship, we can make that argument with the life insurance company. But if we're talking about a niece who's living at home, in their own situation, and they have other people that, are have insurable interest over them, no, you can't own the policy that you do on your niece, but you can absolutely fund the policy that you do on your niece. And then it's agreement between, again, if it's a trust that owns these policies, then you as the trustee of the trust can then determine how income is distributed. So even though you may not personally own the policy, the trust can, and that will distribute income to whoever you dictated. So there's a way around, I guess, that insurable interest piece, and that would be by having another entity own these policies. But again, that's where the family bank comes into play. If we are really functioning as a family unit, then why wouldn't we have an overarching trust that all of our assets were in, and we were using this trust as a vehicle to then distribute income throughout. So man, I know you said short answers.
Yeah. She could also own her own policy. You could fund it. You can totally do that too, right?
That was like sentence one.
Got it. Okay, I was reading. Sorry, I don't want to repeat what you just said. I watched back some of our live streams and I do that and I'm like, girl, were you even there? Where were you? Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. April wants to know, could somebody
That's why we're great though.
Well, you're so patient. You just answer normally you would just answer like you never even said it. And later on, I'm like, why don't you just say you already said that? Okay, anyway, April wants to know enough with our shenanigans. If we shenaned once, we will shenanigan. So let's keep moving
At least
forward.
my camera's still running.
Right. Okay. April says this I think I like this one. Could somebody do a reverse mortgage and plow it all into an MPI?
So, I understand reverse mortgages very well also. I'm a fan of reverse mortgages. There is a strategy where the minute you hit 62, you should get a reverse mortgage. Um, a reverse mortgage, when you peel back the layers of a reverse mortgage is just a HELOC. Um, my challenge with reverse mortgages is they're expensive. You have to have a significant amount of equity in your home for a reverse mortgage to make sense. There are some other levers that are pulled inside of a reverse mortgage that are awesome. But let me just answer your question. Could somebody do a reverse mortgage and plow it all into MPI? The short answer is yes. Now, plow it all. There's degrees around that, but the short answer to your question is yes. You can take the proceeds from a reverse mortgage and do whatever you want to with it. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if we actually answered Ken's question, so I want to go back to it.
That could be true.
It could be true. Sometimes I listen back and I go, geez, I just abandoned the sentence mid sentence. What?
Squirrel.
It did it again. Did it do it for you? Did I go
No, we're,
off?
we're good.
Okay.
So where do we set up the MPI account?
Yeah.
You can actually get an MPI account from any certified MPI advisor. There's about somewhere between 90 and 100 across the country. There's not very many. But the easiest thing to do is to go to selfdirected.info and get on my calendar, and I can show you how. Now, how about this though? I'm going to flip that question. What if you wanted to offer MPI? You could do that too.
Yeah.
Um, I am an independent retirement planner. I am not captured by anybody's life insurance company. I picked up MPI solely because I see it as a vehicle for retirement. I didn't start out as a life insurance provider. I'm just an engineer who happens to be a retirement planner, and I picked up MPI because the maths. So you can get it again. Any certified MPI advisor you can get it from. You cannot walk into State Farm and get it. You cannot call up Mutual of Omaha and get a premium finance strategy, secure compound interest account structured such that you're producing secure compound interest for life, also known as MPI. You can't do it. You would have to go through an MPI advisor to be able to do so.
And he's the best. Okay. All right. We know that. They know that. They know that this is where all the bikes are. This is the house with all the bikes in the front. We've got financial literacy snacks. We got the best snacks
Financial literacy snacks.
on the
Girl, go
block.
to the next
We're
question.
adulting. We're adulting. So that's the new. Okay. That's what we're doing here. We're snacking it up. Am I lying? Is it
You're
facts,
not.
guys?
You're not. You're
This
not.
is
You're
where the
doing
bikes are
yours.
now. This is what we're doing. We're building wealth. Before we did other things, now this is how we hang out. And this is where we're meeting new people. So if you want to know, I kind of took a couple spins around the block. I don't know any kids in this neighborhood. You're going to get to know people here in this neighborhood in the chat because everybody's on the same journey. Everyone's on a like-minded journey. We all have the same goal, and we grow farther and faster when we grow together. We wholeheartedly believe that. And at the family bank, we definitely should do a live
It's coming.
on that
There's so
content.
many layers of stuff that we just have not touched on, so we'll get there.
Yeah. And I know we could have 6-hour live streams. We really should stop doing that. Okay, Ken says, is there an interest rate cap on a first position HELOC? Are the rates lockable? Trigger warning, just throwing that out there.
So, is there an interest rate cap on a first position HELOC? It depends on the vehicle, depends on where you get it from. The one that we have is variable, and there is no ceiling, which is scary. But we do have the ability to lock. The one that we have with Bank of America allows us to lock our rate in one time, and
I
I
I
consider
I, I
myself
put it out
fairly
there.
intelligent, but this is a mistake that I have made.
Bruh.
My original, our original first position HELOC was for 1.2%. It is currently sitting somewhere around 7. I could have locked this thing at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, and I lose sight of it because it's a fluid vehicle. I don't ever plan on paying it off, and I use the money in it to fund our MPI plan. It is a very, very fluid vehicle. I think this year we bought 4 cars. Like, it is a very, very fluid vehicle that money comes in, money goes out, balance goes down, balance goes up. It's just and I lose track and sight of that opportunity. But you do have the ability to, on most, lock that rate, and I think it is one time that they allow it. So it just really depends on where you get your HELOC from.
Yeah. So not only can we tell you what we have done, we can tell you what not to do.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
transparent.
Yeah. Well, and that's what happens. Hello. Thank you for this live stream. I have a question. I will get $90,000 in cash and have $40,000 in debt.
Okay.
Having my next goal is or next goal is buying a home.
Mhm.
Do you think I should pay all or half of my debt?
So I'm assuming the reason these numbers are here is because I'm gonna guess and say that debt is impacting your ability to maybe qualify for the home. So if the goal is to be able to get the home, then I would say you would need to structure things such that you are you're seen as credit worthy from the bank. Again, this is that game we play, right? We have to we have to do this tap dance to make sure the bank allows us to be able to borrow their money at whatever that interest rate is so we can go buy the home. Um, again, what you should do, I think there are other layers to that question that I would need to understand to maybe provide a prescription as to what you should do. But again, it sounds like the first step would be being able to qualify for the home. If that's the case, if these are the numbers and you qualify for the home, I wouldn't worry about the debt because you're already in the door. And I also would not put more than whatever that bare minimum is to get it to that mortgage that you want. I get it. It could be here or it could be here. So I would just use whatever that dollar amount is to get to the mortgage that you feel comfortable with. And once you do that, I'd get the rest of that compounding. I would not, I would pay my minimums on my debt. I would methodically pay my debts off like you normally do with anything else, but I would get those sums compounding. I would pay yourself first. Notice, I said go ahead and qualify the home. I did not say pay yourself first here. But if we were sitting down, this conversation would start with, what are you doing? Why are we doing it? And how do you get money compounding for you now? Because in that case, 10, 15 years from now, you won't need the bank's permission to be able to buy a home. You would have a vehicle that's running for you that you could leverage your own money in your own bank to be able to buy that next home or that next property or whatever it is you wanted to do. So can we acquire rental homes and use this strategy over and over again? You can Burr method all day long. And when you say this strategy, I'm assuming you're talking about maybe MPI, meaning can you take the proceeds from your rentals, put them into a vehicle that's producing compound interest, secure compound interest, and then rinse and repeat and do that again all day long.
Or
This
put
is this
first position HELOCs on those homes so that you can leverage your equity.
this is the conversation that I have with real estate investors all the time. It's called, I go back to pay yourself first. Skim off the top is what I call it. I don't care how many rentals you have. There's some type of cash flow happening in that space. The key is to skim off the top. And to my wife's point, if you are converting some of those mortgages into first position HELOCs to be able to buy more, again, skim off the top. Take a portion of that and get it compounding. And here's what you'll figure out. Even though you might have 5, 10, 15 rentals, that secure compound interest account, you give it the right amount of time, it starts to surpass whatever those 10, 15, 20 rentals could possibly do. And you start to assess, wait a minute, if this vehicle is doing everything that I see that it's doing, why do I need all of these properties in the first place? What if I start liquidating some of these properties to start making this machine grow even faster? That's what ends up transitioning here. But it all starts with pay yourself first, skim off the top. And this goes also with because usually a question like this, what comes behind this is my day traders. I just say the same thing to my day traders, skim off the top. Start dumping your money into a vehicle instead of putting it back into the business. Because that's what real estate investors do, right? They buy a home, flip that home, put that money back into buying more homes, buy and hold, get renters to pay more rent, and they end up putting it back into the business, and the cycle continues to go. Skim off the top, dump a certain dollar amount, 10%, 15%, 20% into a secure compound interest account. And then what you will see is you don't need all of these rental properties because you've got a vehicle that can outproduce and outperform all of them.
Yeah, and to Carr's point, he's like, the banks want to know where all your money is. They want to know where all your shiz is. They want to be in all your business. And the cool part about having something like a first position HELOC is you don't have to season your money. It's already, I mean, it's got all the seasoning. So you don't have to do anything with it. But if you were to go liquidate another asset, if you were to go have money tied up somewhere else, then all of a sudden you have to then explain, right, your money trail. And here you don't. You just get to use your equity. I love your example when you tell people, especially in the real estate community, who feel it very, very committed to traditional systems, and you tell them, cool, you bring your equity, meet me at Best Buy. You bring your equity and I'll bring mine. When you say that on the phone, I damn near die every time. And I think they probably do too, because they're like, dang, no, I can't bring my equity to Best Buy. And you're like, see ya. Because I'll be at Best Buy, I'll be at Costco, I'll be anywhere I want to be with my equity, and I'll be able to make a purchase right then and there with my equity. Tell me what you can do with yours. If I wanted to make an investment, if I wanted to make a move, there was an opportunity right in front of me and an opportunity right in front of you. Guess who's going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity? It ain't you, bro, because you have to go all this paperwork and red tape in order to be able to access your equity. And I had mine yesterday, right?
And it's in essence, it's about being liquid.
Yeah.
And again, at my age, liquidity matters. It's not net worth for me. I am comfortable. I'm comfortable not having the net worth if I can have the income. I am comfortable not having the net worth if I can have the liquidity, because liquidity trumps net worth every time. Because I don't lose time and I don't end up getting riddled in the fees. And also, if you're doing this right, it's in a vehicle that's producing tax free. So
Yeah.
you're also not being impacted by taxes. Like it's just at the end of the day, it's just math, and it starts with pay yourself first.
Somebody is asking in the text, the $200,000. How long is it going to pay that off at 8.6%? And I think you had already answered that. It's 8 years, right?
So it's an additional. So it depends on the point in time that we're referencing. At the 83 month mark, at the 7 year mark, we still had a 200. I'm sorry, $100,000 HELOC that still needed to be paid off. I don't know if we're talking about that, or are we talking about when I started the. I took a first position
The
HELOC out
first
on the
position,
primary
yeah.
residence for 200,000.
Yep.
And how long does it take to pay that off? Yeah, I think it ended up being, it was the 8 years. The $200,000 ended up being paid off by age 68, which fit inside of her time horizon of 15 years. So I didn't have that being paid off taking any longer than 96 months,
Okay.
8 years, 96 months.
Cedric says, what exactly is a Skia? Whenever you have time or a video, thank you. Cedric, if you just, I think you grabbed onto our free resources. If you didn't, go to selfdirected.info/live, and you can grab all of our free resources. Here you go. Or we'll run your numbers too. Um, This is where you can get access to the comprehensive video series. You can get access to 2 free books that we have. One explains the lost science of compound interest. The other one is why everyone ends up poor. And it's really more about how we structure things and how we've been programmed to structure things, and it doesn't serve us anymore. So understanding what we have been doing and why that doesn't work, I think is kind of the key or the gateway to then understanding why these other systems are so powerful. Skia is a secure compound interest account. That's what it is. But if you go in there and you grab a hold of the free resources, there's a series with all kinds of short videos. So it's like nuggets based on the topic, and you just kind of go down them. You should have all the information that you need. There's also a 30-minute webinar in there. There's a lot of free resources in there to make sure that you're making wise, educated, confident decisions. That is what we're about. You can't become self-directed if you do not feel like you can make those decisions. And so we've been trying to add even more all the time, just resources, whatever they be. We have velocity banking worksheets, and we're coming up with a how-to video series on how to use that worksheet and how to kind of move through those decisions too. So that will be all free. It's all free. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, I don't know here. if I'm missing any text ones, so I apologize if I do. Miss AB says, I'm retiring soon and I'm looking to sell my home, move to another state. Do you suggest getting a new mortgage or pay outright and get a HELOC for whether it's first position or what?
I need more details, but I heard the first sentence. It was, I, I, I mean, I'm looking to sell my home and move to another state, which means you're not tied. You know, I don't know if that is that other state your forever place. Like there's just I need more detail there. But it started with I am retiring soon. If it was me who's retiring soon, my biggest concern is income when I retire soon. And if that is not an issue, then I would play with these assets. I would put these assets in a position to where I can leverage them to now build more wealth. So, can I build wealth with a mortgage? Because again, there are some times where a mortgage would make sense. If a mortgage is 4% and you can get a first position HELOC in place of that mortgage or on that primary residence for 11%, like which one do you do? Well, it's not a cut and dry black and white answer. It depends on your cash flow. It depends on the position that you're in, especially because you're retiring soon. Now your income is a bit more fixed. So based off this fixed income, regardless of what that number might be, is it sufficient enough of an income for you to be able to maintain a first position HELOC at 11%? Or would it make more sense to get that mortgage where you can get that mortgage, and then as you build equity in that home, then replace that mortgage with a HELOC when the opportunity presents itself, based off the fact that, based off the math, based off where your numbers are. So again, it's just not enough information for me to give a definitive answer. I think it's all about the math and understanding where you are with cash flow.
And knowing your numbers, right? Your numbers do impact your opportunity. Okay, Fletcher says, and I love this question. He said, if I start now with my 4-year-old, when it's time to buy her a car, can I borrow against it? And would you say I need to pay it back or not?
This will be the
Such a great
shortest answer
question.
I've given all night. Yes, you can. And should you pay it back or not, you have the option. Um, it's again, I don't even know if I need to go off screen. It's yes, you can, and you have the option to pay it back or not. And I don't think there's a wrong answer here. You pay it back, you bring your account whole, you're able to do this over and over and over again. You don't, God forbid something happened, the result comes out of the death benefit, you never had to pay for it anyway. So I think the key is yes.
Fletcher, are you asking because this is something very common that people who sell whole life insurance preach about? They are
The
like,
concept of infinite banking
right.
is you leverage a whole life policy to be able to leverage and pay for a car. Usually the example is paying for like 4 cars over 10 years or something like that is usually the standard infinite banking example that people use. And the reason you want to pay back money inside of a whole life policy is because a whole life policy, I'll call it, is decent if it's structured properly, but it's just not designed to build wealth inside of it. And here's what I mean. A whole life policy is usually making a guaranteed percentage of somewhere around 4%. Like that's the sell on a whole life policy. A whole life policy allows you to make a guaranteed 4%. Awesome. Ask the question, how much does it cost for me to leverage my money? 9 times out of 10, that leverage of the money inside of your whole life policy that's making 4% costs you more than 4%. Whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, doesn't matter. The minute you leverage your money to go buy a car inside of your whole life policy, you're now losing money inside the policy. So people who educate on infinite banking say this: if you're going to treat yourself like a bank, do what you would do if you were borrowing this money from a bank. What would you do? You'd pay it back. Well, when you pay it back, what does it do? It makes the account now whole because you've compensated for the negative growth that was happening inside the policy. Well, if this was a properly designed and structured policy that was not only making you a percentage over time in the policy, and when you leverage the money, it costs you less to leverage the money than what was actually being made inside the policy, meaning even when you leverage the money, you're still making money on your money, then you have a choice as to whether you pay this dollar amount back. I would say early on in your policy, pay it back. Later on in your policy, nah, don't worry about it because it's not impacting anything. It's not impacting your growth. But you can have that decision. You can make that choice when it's properly designed. I have yet to see a whole life policy that you had that option because
Yeah,
you're losing
well,
money in the policy.
Well, here we go. Here's Josephine says, I am 61 years old, and I have two mortgages paying 5K a month for both. And I have two IUL insurance paying a monthly premium of 7K. I don't think they structured my policies correctly. How can I start MPI?
Yep, just jump on a call. The way you can tell whether they're structured properly is just answer this question. When do they break even? So meaning if you're putting in, let's see, a monthly premium of 7,000, when you 7 times 12 is 84. So you've put in 84 grand this year. Do you have, when you look over there in that surrender value column, do you have $84,000 working for you? If the answer is no, then go to the next year. So now it's 84 times 2. 84 times 2. When you go over to that surrender value column, do you have 84 times 2 working for you? At what point do you break even? In a properly designed policy, it should be somewhere around year 5, 6, maybe 4. In a poorly designed policy, it's somewhere around years 10, 11, 12, meaning you've put in 10 years of 84,000 before you have 10 years of 84,000 working for you. That's a problem. But if you're talking about a secure compound interest account like MPI, majority of the time that break-even point is around year 3 and 4. Why? Because there's leverage added, because there's support, there's a match added to this policy, which allows you to build income more efficiently. So that means you've put in 3 years of 84. By year 3, you have 3 years of 84 working for you. That is the easiest way to understand whether your policy is structured or not. And then how do you get started? Just reach out. Because if you have cash value in your IULs, you're able to do what's called a 1035 exchange from your IUL, from your whole life policy, from your variable life policy, from your universal life policy, from any cash value life insurance policy into MPI. And we can kind of transition into getting your money compounding for you. But it would require some amount of cash value for you to be able to do that.
Okay. I know that this really deserved a whole lot of an answer. We got to move faster on the other ones because they're really
I love it when
stacking
you
up.
say that.
Josephine, I want to just say this last thing. That we did a whole live stream breaking down the difference between MPI and a traditional IUL or cash value life insurance policy. And if I can't think of what it's called right now, but it does exist. And he went through, there was like a reaction video that we did inside of it. And then we used their example of what they were saying. Look what you could have if you had an IUL. And we were like, whoa. Or look what you could have if it was properly structured with MPI. So that's where it does exist. If you're like, I can't wait till we have this call, Donnell, and you want to go look and you want to be able to see on a schedule what he's talking about, it exists there. So I just wanted to say that. Okay. Miss AB says, how can I roll over the 457 into MPI, being that I will be leaving the job before 59 and a half?
Yeah, you can take your 457 and self-direct it. But as far as moving your 457 into a secure compound interest account like MPI, that would require a tax and a penalty. Because you're taking it before 59 and a half, you will get hit by that penalty. But here's a third option. There are some wonderful annuities out there. And there are index similar to how MPI has the 0% floor, so you can't lose inside of the product. There are annuities out there that fit that same mold. So it may make more sense depending on what your time horizon is, meaning, hey, I want this to compound for 10 years, 15 years, whatever that is. It may make more sense to move that dollar amount into an annuity, because there's some annuities that are doing some pretty amazing things out there as well. And you can move qualified money into an annuity under the same guise that it's currently in, meaning there's no tax, no penalty. In addition, it's just a qualified to qualified transfer, and that money's growing the same way it's growing in the vehicle that it's currently in. It's just growing at a more secure pace and a higher rate because it's an annuity.
All right. Lolo says, not trying to get all up in your business, but looking at the your own personal MPI plan, is its current value and projected income somewhat on track with what the MPI calculator projected?
Great question. And okay, short answer is yes. But let me give you an example of a client that I just had a similar conversation with.
Yeah.
And this conversation was around, hey, it's year 3. He called me in year 3 and he went, look, I need to leverage my policy. Matter of fact, I think I need to reduce what I'm putting into my policy because I've got some actions coming up that I need to take care of. And I said, you realize where you are, right? And he goes, no. I said, you're at year 3. Okay, so what does that mean? I'm at year 3. Well, at year 3 is when the relock feature kicks in, which means leverage is added to your account, which means you have other decisions that you can make. And I said, let me go into your account and see what you should be pulling into year 3 based off the relock feature. Well, the calculator said he should be pulling in somewhere around, I think it was like 16 grand into his year 3, again, based off what the calculator said. But in actuality, and that's this year, meaning what has happened over the last 3 years. 2021, the market was good. 2022, the market crashed, which means when the market crashes in a product like this, you don't make money that year. So the calculator said, based off the function of the calculator, that he should be pulling about 16 grand at year 3 based off the relock feature. His actual relock dollar amount was well over 18 grand. So he pulled in 18 grand in year 3 instead of 16. So we under promise in the calculator so that we can over deliver in real life. And in his specific example, and it included a down year where you don't make money in that year. So I wouldn't say you were getting up in our business. It's just math at the end of the day. How close or how competent is the calculator? The whole point is to under promise. So I would say what you're seeing in the calculator is less than what you should be actually achieving inside of your account. And I've got the data to prove.
And there was even a new law that was released as they're trying to regulate some of the investment spaces and the promises that they're giving people, and they're trying to put more regulation on that. So there's even more restriction on what people can promise. So that should be to make you feel better about what is going on and going forward is specific to life insurance and
And let me
income produced
rephrase
from
that.
that.
Let me
Okay.
rephrase that. As a life insurance provider, I can't illustrate something that hasn't happened. And as it relates to MPI, in year 1, we're just functioning like an IUL. In year 2, we're just functioning like an IUL. But in year 3, there's leverage added. I can't legally illustrate that leverage because it hasn't happened yet. But when it happens, I can illustrate it, rerun everything, and show you what that looks like. But leverage occurs every year, which means I can't illustrate something that hasn't happened, which means you will never receive an illustration from anyone who provides MPI that illustrates what the calculator shows. We had to get the calculator approved. There was a fair amount of legalities that we had to go through to get the calculator approved because, to your point around the rules associated with what you can promote and offer as it relates to life insurance, we cannot illustrate something that has not occurred. And that's why I go back to the point is to under promise so that we can over deliver.
Okay, we have a text in. Hi, I'm 54 and I currently do not have anything set up for retirement. I've been married for over 30 years and my husband lives for today and doesn't think about
Hello.
retirement. Yep. I want to start something now. So I think what should somebody do in that situation when there's one partner? We did have this discussion of, can you get your partner on board, or is your partner on board? Because we've been there. I was
Absolutely.
YOLO.
So a 54-year-old, I like to back into things like this because it starts with what's your goal? Okay, I don't have anything in place today. Heard it. So what's your goal? My goal is to have something in place. Okay, let's put a number on it. Mathematically, what do you need? My assumption is at 54, you would want in retirement whatever it is you're making today. Because I'm assuming because your husband is, I know inflation, I know where you're headed. But because your husband lives for today, my assumption is living for today might actually be okay. So in order to be able to live for tomorrow, you need to be able to be achieving a comparable income so that you can continue living for the day. So whatever that math is, hey, I need, make up a number, 6 figures in income by age, whatever that number is. Then we back into that from an MPI perspective. And sometimes here's what you have to realize around our age. It is not as simple as, hey, I want to put away $500 a month and I would expect to be able to hit my current income at whatever that date is. We have to be realistic. At 54, we are running out of compound cycles. So if you're wanting to be able to hit your current income in the future, you have to be aggressive enough to be able to put enough money away to be able to do so. But so I can't give you a number, but the easiest thing to do is to back into what it is you want by first answering this question. What's your goal?
This next one, Sherry, we're not going to go all in the weeds with this one because
Is that for me?
this is a rabbit.
Cause
No,
she's not
that is
talking to
for
you,
me.
Sherry.
No, this one I said for me this time
Okay.
because she was talking about bricks. And
That is a
Sherry,
rabbit
you
hole.
might actually appreciate our Wizard of Oz series that we did when we were talking about the history of retirement plans and how well it lines up with the Wizard of Oz. It's crazy when you go watch how we connected those things together, but when you see it, you can't unsee it, including bricks, Yellow Brick Road. But think about it. We even had that in there and we did this months ago. So if you are interested in kind of seeing where we think things are going and why we think things are positioned in the way that they are, just our personal opinion, of course, I would definitely highly recommend. Plus, I just think it's awesome to learn things in that way. The Wizard of Oz series, and it's like straight out of Oz, or the Oz effect, I think is what you'll see on the thumbnail, is what it's called. But that was a fun one.
So how do you? But leave it up if you don't mind. But how do you overcome or compensate for where we're headed with the D-dollar? I can get it out. De-dollarization,
There it is.
de-dollarization,
Woohoo.
de-dollarization, and all of that. Well, go back to because it's actually a very simple equation because it's all math. It is pay yourself first, and the problem with most vehicles where we are trying to focus on our future, most of those, if not all of those vehicles, are, to your point, tied to the stock market. But what does that mean? Because the stock market really isn't bad. The problem with these vehicles being tied to the stock market is when the market does great, that account does great. But when the market crashes, that account suffers the same way the market is suffering. What if you could participate in the gains of the market, but not participate in the falls of the market? If you can, because participating in the gains, that has made a lot of billionaires around here, right? Real estate has also done that as well. But what if you could participate in the gains of the market, but not have to deal with whatever happens when we change presidents or, something like that? And that's what a properly designed secure compound interest account can do for you. So to your point around MPI, is MPI tied to the stock market? There is a call option purchased inside of MPI that rides with the gains of the market. But as far as the falls of the market, we do not participate in. There is a contractual guarantee, and this is the only guarantee you will ever hear me mention as it relates to this product. There is a contractual guarantee, and that's not a Donnell guarantee. That's not an MPI guarantee. It is a contractual guarantee from the life insurance company that says this: you cannot lose the money you've contributed, nor can you lose the gains made off the money that you've contributed due to stock market loss. Show me the 401k that has that guarantee. Show me the Roth IRA that has that guarantee. Show me any vehicle that participates in any way, shape, or form of the market that has that guarantee. And there is one other item. It would be an annuity that also kind of participates in the same fashion. But that is the key. The key is to reduce risk. If you can reduce risk, we can, whatever's happening with banks or what's happening in the White House, we can overcome and overlook. Because what does that all mean? That means that at some point we're going to have to pay for all of this stuff. Having to pay for all of this stuff means taxes are going to go up. So how do you compensate for taxes going up? You put yourself in a position where you have what's called the power of zero, meaning regardless of what happens, you're paying zero taxes in the future. So regardless of what happens with the dollar, you're not participating in any of that. How do you do that? It's about a secure compound interest account. It's paying yourself first, somewhere secure, get your money compounded. Somewhere secure, compound your money, and then you add leverage to exponentially grow it. It's a mathematical equation, and it's all about reducing the risk.
Boom. All right, April has a fun one. She says, because you're a numbers guy, I want to collaborate with you on a strategy for paying off all student loan debt in the US with only minimal input from the U.S. government. What do you think about this?
I think it's already been done. And because I've had this conversation, not about student loan debt, but I've had this conversation around, what do you call it? It's trillions of dollars right now. It's the clock, what is that thing called? But it's the national debt. It's if done properly, the national debt could be run down to zero. And I think it's a matter of maybe 20, if not 30 years. And it's all in eliminating the risk. So how do you eliminate risk? If you were to apply portions of the national debt into a secure compound interest account, you could actually fix the national debt because over time it would correct itself. And student loan is no different. Healthcare is no different. All of these things can be managed, but it would require the people who actually pull the strings to be okay with not making less money, because it would require capitalists to stop being capitalists and focus on how can we actually help people. In order to help people, we have to kind of step back and go, you know what, I've got enough money. Let me actually put some systems in place where we can actually help people. So resolving student loan, resolving the national debt, resolving healthcare, there are actually vehicles out there that will already do that. It's just that I don't know that the people in charge want those things to happen. So.
Well, and if what we went over tonight isn't sobering enough, just to be able to see what people will need, what we'll need, what our kids will need, what our grandkids will need, if that's not motivating enough to get you a plan into action inside of your home, if that wasn't motivating, what?
Pay yourself first.
Yeah. Well, definitely pay yourself first, but also pay it forward, right? We have to start paying it forward, if not for each other, if not for our families. There are so many people who are in the position right now at retirement age who cannot retire. This is the retirement crisis. What are they going to do? I think there are a lot of people who are our age who have not realized yet that their parents are going to need their help. They weren't financially prepared for that either. So what happens to their kids when the burden starts to roll down, right? It's either going to be wealth or it's going to be burden. Pick a struggle. Like it's going to be paying it forward and creating and generating wealth, or it's going to be trying to keep your head above water. And we knew better. Now you know better. Now we can do better. And on that note, we always say, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
And on that, so we're going, I think at this point, we just want to thank everyone for their time, for tuning in tonight. I'm getting tired. I know that you're getting tired. So stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
My name's Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
All right. And our goal is to help you.
Seriously. Get self-directed.
And we're going to show you how to get all those free resources right now. So hang on there, guys. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Sunday. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.